Good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to the June 7th Board of Selectmen's meeting here at the Great Hall. Mr. Pino, do we have a need for non-public this evening?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. We do under 91A, 3 Roman numeral 2, lowercase b, hiring, lowercase c, reputation, and lowercase e, legal.
Thank you. Next on our agenda, consideration of minutes for May 17th. Do we have any corrections or comments? Linda?
I do. It says on the first page, the second line, it says Chairman Brad Harriman called the meeting to order, and then down 3 more lines, it has the same wording. Brad Harriman called the meeting to order at the right time, so I think that the first Brad Harriman called the meeting to order should be removed.
Yep.
On page 4, it's talking about B. Deshays, and we should have the word Brody Deshay, so to know that it was Brody and not Brian, and there are 2 of them in the top paragraph there. Mm-hmm. And then on page 6, 1, 2, 3, 4th paragraph, it says off mic comments. I think that should be removed. If that all it was saying there is off comment, I think it should be out if it's off mic.
Okay.
Or she's saying there's more conversation she didn't get, but I don't think we want to leave in our minutes off mic comment.
Yep. All right.
All right? And that's all I have.
Anybody else have any comments? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll take a motion to accept as amended.
Second.
Motion been made by Linda, seconded by Luke. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Next on our agenda are public hearings. Notice of public information meeting to be held at the Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen meeting at 6:30, Wednesday, June 7th at the Great Hall in Wolfeboro Town Hall, 84 South Main Street, Wolfeboro. A meeting will be held to acquaint the citizenry with a proposed photovoltaic solar array on the Wolfeboro Public Library. The goals of the meeting will be to present the plans on the solar array and the United States Department of Agriculture grant, and to hear comments on such items as economic and environmental impacts, service area, alternatives to the project, or any other issue pertaining to the proposed project. Do we have somebody here to...
Good evening. My name is Joyce Davis, and I'm representing the library tonight. And I'm here to update the community and your board on the status of the library solar project and the USDA Community Facilities Grant that we've applied for to help pay for the solar, and to hear comments from the public and if there are any concerns. While we have already previously briefed the selectmen, there has already been an opportunity for public input. This is a requirement as part of our application for the USDA grant. A little bit of background: the library spends between $13,000 and $15,000 annually on electricity for its heat and its power. During the library renovation, plans were put in place to install solar on the roof to supply the electricity to provide for the heating, cooling, and power for the entire building. Because of some grant and funding opportunities that are now available, we've decided this is the time to move forward with the solar installation. On February 13th of this year, the library trustees authorized the staff to move forward with the assistance of the Wolfeboro Energy Committee and the Municipal Electric Department to issue a request for proposal for a solar voltaic array for the roof of the library and apply for grants to help cover the cost. This RFP was posted on March 1st on the town website, and ads were placed in the Union Leader and the Granite State News. We also directly mailed to more than 50 solar providers. On March 20th, we had a public opening of the bids. We received 2 proposals. A team comprised of members of the Energy Committee, Barry Muccio from the Municipal Electric Department, a library trustee, and myself convened twice to review the proposals, score them, and select the awardee. The committee selected Barrington Power as the solar developer. I believe Ted Van Sant may be available, although I don't see him up there, if there are any technical questions, but I believe Nancy is here remotely. The installation is a 76-kilowatt solar array and is expected to generate about 82,000 kilowatt hours of electricity in its first year, which is roughly 90% of the building's current energy usage. There will be 206 370-watt panels and 3 25 kW inverters. The array will be black to match the roof and will be flush-mounted on the southeast-facing side of the roof, meaning the side of the roof on the entrance side of the building, the opposite side from the public safety building. The electrical conduit will run down the inside of the building and connect to the electrical panel in our basement. In the lobby, there will be a monitor to show in real time the electricity being generated. We look forward to offering some educational programming for the public on the array. The panels themselves have a 25-year warranty. The inverters are expected to need replacement once over the 25-year expected life of the system. The power generated will cover approximately 90% of our electricity needs. We have the roof space to generate 100% of the electricity, but can't do it at this time due to the current MED net metering policy. We hope in the not-too-distant future we will be able to install the remaining solar capacity needed to cover 100% of our needs. The cost of the system is $170,745, plus we have planned a 10% contingency, bringing the total cost to $187,820. The plan is that all funds to pay for the system will come from grants and donations with $0 from Wolfeboro taxpayers. These funds may include, we're expecting about 30% of the cost to be covered by a program called Direct Pay, which is part of the Inflation Reduction Act. We have applied for a $10,000 rebate available from the state of New Hampshire. We have applied for a grant to cover 55% of the costs from the USDA's Community Facility Program, and we have also applied for a grant specifically for library solar projects from the private corporation EBSCO, which is a company that we purchase databases in our magazines from. The Wolfeboro Library Foundation has also committed funds to this as well. Our success at securing these grants will determine if and when this project will be able to move forward. If we achieve what we hope to with this project and the costs are completely covered by grants and donations, this will reduce the tax burden for Wolfeboro taxpayers and save the town roughly $250,000 to $375,000 over the next 25 years. The project would not have happened without the assistance of the Municipal Electric Department and the Wolfeboro Energy Committee, and especially Nancy Hirschberg on that committee, and we thank them for their help. Thank you for this opportunity to brief the public on the solar project. At this time, I would be happy to take any questions or comments from the board or the public.
All right, thank you, Joyce. At this time, I will open up the public hearing, so if anybody in the audience has any questions for anybody, we'd come on up to the mic and we'd be happy to try and answer them. Board members, any questions or comments for Joyce?
Well, I'll just make one. Thank the library trustees and the Energy Committee moving forward with this. It was one of the items that helped sell the library, and I'm glad it's going to move forward.
Yeah, I'll concur with that, I know, yes, come on up to the mic. Yeah, just while he's coming up here, I'll concur with that also, that the goal was for a zero net on the library there. Looks like we're getting real close to achieving that, so that's great. Yes, sir.
Hi, I just want to...
Could you just state your name for the record, please?
I'm sorry. I'm Doug Smith. I'm the chair of the Library Board of Trustees.
All right, thank you.
And I just want to make a statement about something altogether different if we're done with solar.
Can you just speak up into the mic there?
I'm
having a hard
sorry.
time hearing.
We have been without a director for many months, and we've had a search committee working on it, as well as the entire board of trustees, and we have finally found the right person. Her name is Allison Rutley, and she comes to us from Boston. She's had a long career with libraries down there, and she'll be starting for us June 19th. So I won't take a lot of time to go into her background or what it took to get here, but it was a long, hard slug getting there. So we're looking forward to it. Down the road here in just a few weeks, there will be a public reception so we can introduce her to the entire community, hopefully. I'd like to also thank a number of people specifically who worked on this. On behalf of the Library Board of Trustees, we'd like to thank in particular Linda Murray, who's our liaison with the Board of Selectmen. She has been unwavering, provided invaluable advice and guidance throughout this entire long process. I'd also like to thank John Sandine, who's president of the Library Foundation and co-chair of the search committee, for his constantly updating and detailed scheduling and excellent suggestions, and kept us organized and on track throughout the process. I'd also like to thank Judy Crossley, who's president of the Friends of the Library, for her excellent insights throughout the process. They have each been extremely generous with their time and experience, and a minimum of one meeting a week throughout the process and additional assignments as well. And trustees, again, would like to thank Joyce Davis, Jeannie Snowden, and Lori Pankowski for their extra time that they had to put in for this, their dedication and experience and abilities. And throughout this, they've kept the library functioning smoothly and growing even in some respects. So the entire staff has stepped up to, again, support the entire process. I'd like to thank all of them very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody else from the public who would like to come up and make comments or speak toward the project here at all? Any other from the board? All right, I thank you for all the work you guys have done on that, and look forward to seeing it, come to fruition here. We don't need any action on this, so I'll close the public hearing on that one. And the next public hearing we have is for Class 6 building permit. The Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, June 7th at approximately 6:30 at the Wolfeboro Town Hall to consider an application received from Jason and Renee Walsh for a building permit on the Class 6 portion of New Garden Road, specifically tax map 255, lot 3.
Hello, my name is Jason Walsh. This is my wife, Renee. Hello. So we want to apply to get a building permit on a Class 6 road. The state Supreme Court has said the purpose of 6741 is to prevent scattered and premature growth. As you look at the facts, this is not the case here. There has been a house on the property since the 1950s, so it's been on the property for over 70 years. In fact, it is older than everyone in this room. If not, you look really young for your age. The Board of Selectmen will evaluate applications for building permits upon Class 6 roadways in consultation with the Planning Board. I was approved by the Planning Board, and I feel that I check all the boxes based on the approved criteria A through G for Class 6 road approval. Here are the facts. There are 5 houses already on the Class 6 road section, 3 before me. and 2 after me, 6 if you include the house that's on the property right now. One of the permanent year-round homes got approval to build in August of 2016. Zach Pryor, he's actually one of our good friends. He had a structure on the property and got approved to build. I have a structure on the property as well. It should be grandfathered in. So due to the structure being grandfathered in, an approved building permit will not, I repeat, will not result in occasion to lay out the road to a Class 5 road, which was a concern for many. The only planning board member that voted no last month was worried about other permits being granted after I was on a Class 6 road. He referenced future land use recommendation of open land space protection number 4. There is a structure already on the property. It is not open land space. My approval should not grant access to other building permits on open space land. This is not a case where I bought land on a Class 6 road, have to clear cut, bring in electricity. It has been cleared many years ago. I'm not asking for electricity. In fact, there's electricity running past the property and continuing half a mile past me to a year-round home. I'm not asking for town water or sewer. I'm not adding a driveway and changing water drainage or water runoff. In fact, there are already 2 driveways on the property. There is also an old foundation on the property, in addition to the cabin that is highlighted on the tax map. The property has its own address already. The unmaintained portion of the road is less than a quarter mile to my driveway. A planning board member stated last month that the small portion of an unmaintained town road is pretty much a long driveway. At the meeting last month, another planning board member stated that there is a housing shortage in the town of Wolfeboro. This is very true. I've lived here for over 35 years. I went to high school here. I teach and coach at Kingswood and have for the last 18 years. All of my family lives here. My late grandfather, Jim Libby, was a contractor for 30 years in Wolfeboro. He owned JBL Construction. He was also the president of the Rotary Club for many, many years. We just want to build a house in the woods with my family. My young children love the outdoors. We just want to hike and bike and enjoy nature. This building permit will cost the town $0 and will have a long-lasting effect on a lifelong community member. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you. At this point, I'll open up the public hearing. If anybody in the public has any comments or questions regarding this Class 6 permit, Suzanne?
Suzanne Ryan. I live at the end of a Class 6 road. For many years, I have opposed building permits on a Class 6 road. This is not personal. It is a matter of protecting scattered and premature growth. And I've got some questions for the board. Does the board know how many Class 6 roads are in Wolfeboro? Does the board know what the length of New Garden Road is and how far in it will be? I think they have mentioned that. We have 16 Class 6 roads in Wolfeboro. We have 45,153 feet of Class 6 roads, 9 miles of Class 6 roads. If every house only needed 150-foot frontage on 9 miles of road, and we keep giving out these building permits, we certainly will be looking at reclassifying these roads into Class 5, and that will be the end of a remote area. The idea of Class 6 roads is formulated from a lot of case law, a lot of argument amongst the people in the state legislature. But originally, they were just trails and pathways, and people built cabins. They built hunting cabins. They used it for forestry. And it was meant to be rural and stay rural, not to be converted from cabins to year-round homes. The other thing is, let's see, according to the general court enacting uniform provisions for Class 6 roads in 1999, as of August 9th, 1999, all Class 6 highways, regardless, no matter how created, are subject to gates and bars. I don't know if there's even signs on some of these Class 6 roads entrances that they're Class 6, pass at your own risk. Also, I cannot find at the moment, I forgot we were having this hearing tonight, but we have a letter from Attorney Puffer himself, because this has been an issue in this town before, and it's in and around 2008, you'll find it in the file, that even if waivers are given and you sign that waiver form of liability, you cannot waive third-party liability upon the town. What I did find that goes with that, it's relating to waivers and liability. Waiving rights of emergency service, school buses, maintenance, responsibility, and liability arising of a Class 6 road. The waiver agreement, even if it were to assume those such waivers, would bind the plaintiff and their successors. It would not help the plaintiff in their present application. The plaintiff could not immunize the town from any conceivable liabilities to third parties who for any reason might occupy the property in question. And furthermore, the waiver language, it goes on, but that's from case law, and you have that letter in your file. Puffer fully outlined that before, and if anyone can find it, Linda can.
I do, but I didn't bring my file, but I do have it.
Yeah. And also, oh, I don't need that, I don't need that, I don't need that. I think I'd just go to my notes. The selectmen are the body that is in charge of any work that's done on roads. If it's something that's regrading and so forth, they have purview under RSA 236(9) that it's unlawful for anyone to disturb any highway without written permission for the selectman or highway agent. So it brings us to the elephant in the room, the question of the bridge. Who's going to maintain it? What written authority is the board prepared to give to release liability for that bridge that I don't know how it became? There's a case law, Vachon versus Town of New Durham, and that's the one Puffer also used on the Class 6 road. Premature and scattered growth, I've mentioned that. Something that I found that I hadn't really realized is environmentally sensitivity for Class 6 roads, being that they're dirt roads. Since the lot owners keep up the road, they have they ever applied, the previous owners, have they ever applied, well, probably in this one too, have they ever applied to the board for any maintenance on it? And that would mean anything grading, ditching, what have you, keeping the dust down, whatever. But there are reasons that dirt roads are given less traveled and they can have an adverse ecological effect on surrounding environment through erosion, inadvertent sediment to streams, meadows, and I never can say the word, but riparian areas means where the frogs live. So, with some of that background, I would then say, when we go to your resolution of a ordinance, so to speak, it says in there that you bring this to the planning board for their review, which you did last night, I guess it was, a week ago.
2 weeks ago. Yep.
But it says that that the Board of Selectmen will evaluate the application for building Class 6 road in consultation with the planning board and use the following criteria. This is at the bottom of your first sheet. Mm-hmm. And then there is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. The planning board didn't use this document and go through those one by one, which is very relevant. It says, does the road have adequate width, drainage, and grade to handle the development? They didn't talk about that. Condition of connecting roads, which probably isn't applicable because I don't think there is one. The discussion that didn't come up was, is the issuance of a permit likely to result in the occasion to lay out the road to a Class 5? Well, that's one of the points, is if you keep putting house after house after house, they have every right to petition the town at town meeting to make it into a Class 5 road, a through road. And we don't need more miles of road to take care of. We're barely able to afford the ones we've got. And how will, the planning board didn't talk about how will the proposed development affect neighboring properties, and how does the proposed development fit into the general growth and development pattern of the town? Will the issuance of said building permit tend to distort the master plan? Well, they did bring up the fact, it was, I think, 2 members said that the master plan doesn't encourage building permits on Class 6 roads. Will the issuance of a building permit place a financial burden on the town? So those things weren't discussed, and I would hope that the board members bring out this resolution and go through it specifically one by one, and not grant the conversion from the cottage to a year-round home. Thank you.
Okay, do we have anybody else out in the public that would want to come up and make a comment or ask a question? Board members, any?
Yes.
Linda?
You can count on it. One of the things that I found hard about this application is all we got was the waiver. And we got none of the background information. We didn't get any information from the Class 5 road down to your building. I went out there and drove. There is a sign that says it's a Class 6 road. It's not maintained. It's over 3,000 feet. I did send a letter to try to find out, because I had heard from the planning board that you were saying that the town plowed just about down to the property. I got no response. I didn't hear where exactly the town turned around. I also asked for a memo from the electric department to verify the department had no issue taking an electric truck over the bridge, because I'm assuming you're going to want electricity for the new house. And so I don't have any description of the house. I don't know how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms. You referenced prior. I had all that information when we did. I had a picture of the cabin, what was going to happen to it. So I took that and I went to exactly what Suzanne was talking about, to our I guess our policy. And the first one said the condition of the road. And then I got I'm trying to figure out exactly what you said you were willing to do here. On the waiver, on number 3, it says, will be responsible for maintaining access to said real property at a minimum width of 12 feet with two 4-foot shoulders. That is not the width of the road there. It's not a 20-inch road. So I am assuming, because that's what it says, that you're going to have to do a lot of work on this road. And I cannot, and then if you go with the condition of the road, you go down construction standards, it says cutting and clearing. I have no idea to what degree you're going to have to cut and clear. I also asked for the width of the town's right-of-way. I don't have that, so I have no way of telling where this will fit. A definition of a Class 6 road is an unmaintained town road, so we cannot do any work on it. So I'll go back down to it. The condition of the connecting road, this Class 5 section of New Garden Road and Pleasant Valley Road can absolutely handle your house. I don't have any trouble with that. I come down to effect on municipal service, and that's where I have my big problem. And the big problem is having a town vehicle go over that bridge. We have no information on the bridge. I have no idea what the weight capacity. I don't know the last time it was inspected. I could not get anything from our electric department saying that they felt comfortable them taking any vehicle over the bridge. And to me, that makes me vote no to allowing this to happen, because the waiver you sign is for you, and as Suzanne stated, if you take a cement truck over or a truck filled with building material and the bridge goes through, the town's going to be liable for that. I can't answer any questions about grading. I can't answer questions about drainage because I have no idea. The width of the right-of-way or how you're going to get that to 20 feet, I have no information you've presented to us saying how you're going to do that and what the cost might be for you. And so the main thing is the effect on the town services and not being able to get an understanding of what you're doing in terms of the width of the road and how that will change that area. In terms of the houses down there, the furthest one away, the other side of Kathleen Rankin's, is just these were hunting cabins. Kathleen Rankin got her house in there. There is no record that she signed any waiver, that she went through this Class 6 road policy. I've been on the board 18 years. It was not while I was on it, but after I got on the board, we did set a policy for when the town would put electricity on a Class 6 road, and that the electric department has to come to us, so I know that. You know, yours is an old hunting cabin, and so was Zach Pryor's. And so we're really changing the use of those buildings down there, going from hunting cabins that people had all the time to year-round houses, and the demand on the road. The demand on that bridge is what really concerns me. So I will not support this with all the unanswered questions.
All right, thank you. Yeah, you can come back up if you'd like.
So I just want to say a couple points here. I believe we do meet the criteria A through E, A with the condition of the road, 2, B with the connecting roads, 3, you mentioned the municipalities. We're looking, it's solar powered, and there is electricity that runs all the way down, so I believe that's a non-issue. And then you go into D, is the issuance of the permit likely to result in an occasion to lay out the road to a Class 5 road? I believe that we have a structure on the property, so it should be grandfathered in, so no new houses will be built on open land spaces. If you go to E, it shouldn't affect neighboring houses. We drive down there all the time. It's not going to make it any worse. It won't affect the master plan. We have our own address, and as you go on to everything else, I think we do really meet these, and I was hoping you would abstain because you do own road frontage on New Garden Road.
I do not own road frontage on New Garden Road. I do not. My husband gave that land to the Forest Society. We don't even own any land on New Garden Road in Wolfeboro.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's my bad. He did mention.
And I think
owns
he
it.
said
It's in
that
New Durham,
there.
which
So
is
I am
right
not
next to
a
Captain
butter,
Rankin.
not have anything
Yeah.
to do with
Okay.
that at all.
All right, thank you very much. And add one more thing to the bridge. There are logging trucks that Avery hires to go over the bridge pretty much all winter long. So the bridge structure is pretty sound as far as my knowledge. All right, thank you.
But we have if anybody got hurt there, we have no knowledge of the condition of that bridge, whether it's electric truck or whether it's your cement trunks going over, whatever you use to build that house. And we do not know about the construction of a 20-foot road down there, which is what you have signed off on this waiver saying you're going to maintain. And I don't see it there, and I don't understand how it can go in the right-of-way.
Brad, Jim, I have a question. Is there any way that our highway department could go out and look at the bridge? How would we be able to get some kind of determination of the strength of the bridge, the age of the bridge? They say logging trucks go over it. Is there any way we can have that looked at? And I also would like to see Mark Puffer's document about Class 6 roads before we go forward. I'm not against allowing a permit. I just think I need a little bit more information.
So regarding the bridge, we actually just had our 2 Class 6 bridges evaluated. We just received that document about a week ago. Director of DPW is reviewing it. I can't speak to its technicality at this point. I could probably do that at a later time. As far as the correspondence from Attorney Puffer, I'll have to do some research regarding that. Unless Linda does have it in her hand or in her file someplace, but I can do a research and see what I can find.
Can we have Steve Randall look at the condition of the road and check some widths on it to see where our right-of-way is? Can they make the road wide enough and have proper drainage, not have any environmental issues? Is that something that he can do?
I don't think that's incumbent on the Department of Public Works to perform that work, being Class 6. We had the bridges evaluated for emergency access.
Okay.
That was the premise behind having them evaluated. If you recall, 2 years ago, I believe it was, we had an incident where a number of fire apparatus did go across a bridge, which resulted in having this study conducted. But we really cannot do any more than that regarding what the condition of the road is and what it would take to bring that up to a standard.
Yeah, that would actually, Brian, that would actually require the residents down in that area there to go out and hire an engineering firm or somebody to evaluate it, come up with a rating on the bridge to tell what it, kind of load it would hold and stuff like that.
Is that expensive? Is that time-consuming?
It's all relevant. I mean, yeah, it'll cost a little bit of money and stuff to have an engineering firm come out. It'd be a few $1,000s to look at it, do some calculations on it, and get a report.
While they were doing that, should DES should they have a environmental engineer look at potential drainage and other issues?
I think, in my opinion, I think that's going beyond what our responsibilities would be. We'd be looking at, the safety aspect of it, being able to get our vehicles in there. Basically the vehicle we need to get in there would be Barry right now. He has to maintain those power lines. Fire rescue, not sure how they would handle if they want to respond in here at all or not, on how they would approach getting in there if they were called in on an emergency or something like that.
I just got one question for us before we get there, if that's
Yeah.
okay. Did the planning board get something different than this?
They just got this one, the waiver.
That's how they made their
Yeah,
decision?
they got the
Right.
waiver, and they said, well, at least my understanding is that they knew that we had the policy, but that policy should go out. I had to email that policy to all you guys
Yep.
in order to get it. We should have had that, and I have still a problem with this waiver that I think is way bigger than the road that's there, and why would you sign it? Because I don't think you're going to want to keep a road like that.
Nate Nichols, Deputy Chief. We currently have a policy, Brad, that we won't take any fire apparatus over that bridge currently until we know what the rating is. So we'll try to mitigate any incident we can with the pickup truck and the chief's car. So that's the answer.
That's okay, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm going to take a kind of a little bit of a different opinion and approach here is the road right now is being Class 6. We know we have power going down through there to, beyond the Walsh's place here. Barry's had to access that periodically and will in the future too. We have an existing cabin, I guess is probably the right word, that's in there right now. So in reality, if you look at it, this family here could move into that cabin and establish, full-time residency there as it is, and have a family living in there without even coming to us right now or anything here. They're looking to upgrade it. We're not adding a new dwelling in the town of Wolfeboro. We're upgrading one. And I am of the opinion that people have these pieces of property all through town and stuff like that, and they have the right, in my opinion, to be able to build and make improvements upon the property. I think in their own interest that, they should get together with the neighbors down in there and probably have some work done for their own peace of mind to make sure that bridge is safe and adequate for what you want to do in there and for, getting emergency vehicles, if you ever had to have one in there, hopefully not, but, just to have peace of mind in there anyway and stuff, so. And going back to the planning board meeting a couple of weeks ago, I abstained from voting on that one because I knew we'd be hearing it here at the selectmen level here. There were a lot of questions that did come up and were asked and stuff, and that vote ended up being, 4 votes in favor of the concept there. They, had some suggestions they sent along, concerns. 1 against, and there were 2 abstentions, myself and one other gentleman there. So even with the master plan guidance that to not expand on Class 6 roads and stuff, the majority of the planning board did favor this project here. I think you got to look at each project individually too. You can't say, okay, if we're going to give it to one, then that opens up the floodgates for all of them. I think every one should be looked at on an individual basis and evaluated that way. And in my opinion, I would be in favor of this one here. I think for the reasons I've already stated there, we already have electric service down through there. We're not bringing in more utilities, not bringing any more burden upon the town to speak of. So that's kind of my position, my take on it. So, Luke?
I share Brad's feelings. What I would like to see, and I think it would help everyone on the board, especially, is it's just some simple things. Maybe I'm not advising you, but I'm saying maybe some pictures of the current cabin, some dimensions of the current cabin. Maybe revisit that item that Linda brought up about the road and the 20-foot, how that's gonna really play, and to make sure that what you wrote here is even feasible. And then once again, maybe trying to work with the neighbors to help get an engineer out there to say, this is what the bridge can hold, 5 tons, 10 tons, whatever it is. And this is where the bridge is at in that scale, where they scale bridges, and where it is in its lifespan. Because, if you do bring a cement truck across there, and there's all sized cement trucks. You know, there are trucks that only weigh, there are ones that hold 3 yards, and there's ones that hold, you know, a lot more. So, you know, things can be done, but I think I'm good with it in this way Brad was. I just think it would be really helpful for the board to be able to see a little bit more information. And if it was me, that's what I would do and then come back. And I think that, for me, I'd be way more comfortable with it. And I'm sure you have a time frame in your mind, but I think these things take a little bit of time anyways. You are on a Class 6 road. You're in a very unusual situation. But we have to look at all these individually. And Wolfeboro does have a lot of people coming, you know, people coming here, and Wolfeboro is expanding and growing. We have to make sure it's growing in the right way. And every application needs to be taken and looked at individually. The fact that you have a cabin there already, you know, makes me feel like that is something that I would support.
From my personal experience, it took me almost 3 years to build my house. 2 special use permits, and then a long series of just getting it done. And I'm in a neighborhood less than a mile from downtown. So I would be happy if we knew what the bridge was for, in case they have to run new power lines. They're going to have to bring their big truck in. If there is an emergency and they have to get a fire truck in, something like that. That's my only piece. If I could get a piece of paper that says this bridge is safe at this, and you might be happy, you might find out that the bridge isn't what you thought it was, and yes, the logging trucks are going over, but at any time they could end up going crashing through too. And I don't know if you have children or not yet, but I would want to make sure that I had a bridge that was safe going over with my family in it.
Okay, we still have a public hearing open. Did anybody else want to make any comments or ask any questions?
Just about the bridge.
Who built the bridge? Well, did the town build it?
Town did not build it. I'm assuming somebody Kathy Rankin hired, because she's the one person who's on the other side.
And so they didn't come to the town, obviously. There's no record that they came to the town and asked to build it?
She came at one point and asked the town to repair it. The town said no.
Don't forget that third-party liability. You need to get that letter.
I have it. In my file, I'll get it out.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing then. Board members, what would we like to do here? I wouldn't be opposed if we did something contingent upon getting some information in the, coming to us regarding the bridge or something like that we talked about. Just putting that thought out there.
Or could we continue it to our next meeting, and then the public hearing's still open and it gives them an opportunity to bring in what they want?
So moved. That's a motion, right?
Okay.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Linda and a second by Luke to continue this to our next meeting.
And then see if we can get some of the information that the other people would like to have in order to make a decision.
That would be June 21st,
Correct.
2 weeks from tonight.
Yep.
Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, yep, opposed? So we'll do that. We'll continue this to the next meeting, and hopefully in the meantime, we can come up with some of the answers, some of the questions that you heard tonight. And if you going to say we've already continued to that date certain, so if you needed more time, I guess we'd have to address it at that night to get some other information together or something like that, but, okay, all right.
And Brad, or Jim, I assume that we will have a little bit more information because that survey was done on that bridge, correct?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Okay, next on our agenda.
Brad, I was wondering, is there any way we can move the temporary event permit discussion for the Moose Mountain Regional Greenways in front of, as the next item that we discuss, in front of the alcohol permit for the same event?
Well, I should have announced this at the beginning of the meeting. Neither one of those are going to be heard tonight.
Okay.
They've withdrawn their applications.
Okay.
Yep, I apologize for that. Those two have been withdrawn, and also the
The raffle too?
raffle, also the approval of the request for capital reserve fund for the dockside docks, and the water ski club requesting permission to use town property in the Back Bay area has been withdrawn also. So, apologize, should have announced that earlier. Okay, so our next item, still a public hearing here. Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, June 7th at 6:30 for the acceptance of unanticipated funds for an amount awarded that is greater than $10,000 in accordance with RSA 31:95-B relative to a grant from New Hampshire DOJ in the amount of $34,608.63 for COVID-19 ARPA funds for the purchase of a drone, overtime, and protective gloves.
How you doing? Captain Mark Libby, Wolfeboro PD. So this is just the acceptance of the $36,000, $15,000 for overtime, almost $15,000 for purchase of a drone that will help our operations along with the fire department's operations, and training. There's funds in there for the training for the operation of the drone, and some protective gear.
Okay,
That's
that sounds good. At this time, I'll open up the public hearing. If anybody has any questions or comments for the captain? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Board members, any questions, comments?
Captain, do you catch the drone in your hand like a bird? Is that what the gloves are for? Do you catch the drone in your hands? Is that why there are gloves?
Okay,
Do you like a motion?
yes, please.
I move to accept a grant from New Hampshire DOJ in the amount of $34,608.63 from the COVID-19 AAPRA funds for the purchase of a drone, overtime, and protective gloves.
Second.
Motion by Linda, second by Brian. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Next one, the Wolfeboro, let's see, yep, the Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen hold a public hearing Wednesday, June 7th at the Town Hall for acceptance of unanticipated funds in the amount awarded that is greater than $10,000 with RSA 31:95-B relative to a grant from New Hampshire DOJ in the amount of $65,000 for expenses provided by the Wolfeboro Police Department to assist in the New Hampshire DOJ.
So this is one we've been getting for, I think, almost 6-7 years now. So it's a very routine one, $65,000 from the DOJ.
Okay, I'll open up public hearing. Everybody has any questions? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Board members, any questions, comments, motions?
Move to accept the unanticipated funds for an amount awarded that is less than $5,000 in accordance with RSA 31:95B relative to grant monies not to exceed $3,127 to the town of Wolfeboro to be used for the Lakes Region
Got the wrong
Household
one there.
Hazardous Project. Is it?
Wrong
Oh,
one.
wrong one, sorry.
One above it.
Move to accept the unanticipated funds for the amount awarded greater than $10,000 in accordance with the RSA 31:95B relative to the grant from NHDOT DOJ in the amount of $65,000 for expenses provided by the Wolfeboro Police Department to assist in the New Hampshire DOJ Drug Task Force project.
Second.
Motion by Brian, seconded by Luke. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Next one, Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, June 7th for the acceptance of unanticipated funds for an amount awarded that is less than $5,000 in accordance with RSA 31:95-B relative to grant monies not to exceed $3,127 to the town of Wolfeboro to be used for the Lakes Region Household Hazardous Product Facility hazardous waste collection contractor.
Good evening. I am Sarah Silk, and I am site coordinator for Lakes Region Household Hazardous Product Facility. I've been doing hazardous waste for the town of Wolfeboro since 1990, and we have enjoyed various amounts of grant money from DES. The last grant we received covered July of 21 through June of 22, and that was only $2,666. We're currently in their fiscal year 22 to 23 now, and this grant that is before you would be from July of 23 through to June of 24. It would be $3,127. That's based on a population of 12,310, which is a combined population of all of the member communities for household hazardous waste, which includes the towns of Alton and Wolfeboro. We get 25.4 cents for each of our population people. Not much, but it helps. We have been very busy, and I just would like to run through some quick numbers for you. In 2020 and 2021, we were open during COVID. Alton had 195 households and 20, Wolfeboro 401. We had 123 non-members came for a total of 719 households. We received no assistance from grant monies for anyone from away. In 2021, Alton had 184 people. Wolfeboro had 424 households, 125 non-members, for a total of 733. A lot of people did a lot of cleanouts during those years, and during those 2 years, some of the events held with Lakes Region Planning Commission, some of the towns did not participate. I think that upped the number of people that came to our facility. Last year, Alton had 179, Wolfeboro 428, 79 non-members. So we are a very busy little entity over there, kind of hidden in the woods. And we come to you to get authorization, and we do have a specific motion that the state would like. They would like the Board of Selectmen to authorize, in our case, James Pinio, the town manager, to enter into contracts or agreements on behalf of Wolfeboro with the state of New Hampshire and any of its agencies or departments, and further authorized to execute any documents which may, in his or her judgment, be desirable and necessary to effect the purpose of this vote. And that's why I'm here tonight.
Okay, I'll open up the public hearing. Anybody in the audience wish to ask any questions or have any comments? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Board members, Linda?
I'll make the motion she just read.
You don't remember that word for word?
Yeah, wasn't that great? That was a good one.
Second.
Okay, motion by Linda, seconded by Brian. The motion that Sarah had read into the record. Any other discussion?
Only thing I want to do is I want to thank Sarah for all her work that she's done on hazardous waste. How many years now?
I'm kind of math challenged, but it's been from 1990 up to 2023. It looks like 34th year. But you know, it's not by myself. I have great support from both solid waste facilities in both communities, and the board members to the joint board from the town of Alton as well. So.
Any other discussion? And all those in favor? Aye. All those in favor?
Oh, sorry.
All those in favor?
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
I get.
Constantly distracting me. Yes.
We get another seat over here.
Okay, passes. Thank you. Okay, so the Moose Mountain Regional Gate Greenways is not here, has been removed. So the next one is going to be the Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen to consider a temporary event permit for New Hampshire TBF Elite Series to host a bass fishing tournament on July 12th, 2023 at 6 a.m. in the area of 21 Railroad Ave, which is the Back Bay Dock area. Permit number 2023-53. Do we have anybody here to present this one to us? Don't see anyone here, and to me, this seems like this is a new one, isn't it? I don't recall this one from
I don't
any
either.
earlier years.
No. I'm
Dave.
assuming we called it and told them they needed to come. It's going to be
Yes, but-
15 boats.
Yeah, bass fishing tournament, so they're going to base it out of there, and
The only concern I had when I read it, and it popped in my head, is 6 o'clock in the morning, 15 boats, 15 cars pulling 15 boats, other people showing up with cars. Got to make sure they just put the trailers away somewhere so that it doesn't clog up that whole parking area.
which at least it's close to the Glendon Street parking lot. They'll be able to
Yeah.
go right out and go down there, put the boats and, I mean,
Yeah.
the trailers and cars.
As long as the Glendon,
Yeah,
on
we
on
prob-
July 11th, that Glendon Street lot, usually there's trailers that get left there, and that whole area is full, so they might have to take them down to Filterbed Road. Hopefully, they know where Filterbed Road is, they know where they can bring their trailers, and we don't have 12 trailers just dumped in the parking lot.
Jim, are we using Filterbed Road or Pop Whalen, which we did prior to the construction?
The island residents are back at Pop Whalen.
Okay, so we should, how about we give them a map? Tell them there are a few parking spots there, and the rest of them need to go to Pop Whalen, and we provide them a map of where they are to park their trailers. Will that do it?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
It does say in here that under the in 4F there, list of potential damages, this has been reviewed by the applicant, Public Works Director, and Parks and Rec Director in advance of the submittal, and there is no damage expected, so,
And they also received authorization from New Hampshire Fish and Game.
okay, yep. So, I mean,
You're good now?
I'm okay with this, putting it through, and with that
All right.
contingency that we provide them the information for a map with a parking, additional parking room down there.
Okay, I'll make a motion to issue temporary event permit for New Hampshire TBF Elite Series to host a bass fishing tournament on July 12, 2023 at 6 a.m. in the area of 21 Railroad Avenue, Back Bay Docks, permit number 2023-53, and that the town will provide them a map and directions on how to go to Pop Whalen to put their trailers.
Second.
Motion by Linda, seconded by Brian. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, next on our agenda is our bulk vote, which includes, we got 3 manifests in here, weekly manifests. May 19th for $545,000, May 26th for $91,000, and June 2nd for $2,297,000. We have 3 current use applications, 2 property tax refund abatements, 3 intent to cuts, tax exemption credit, and I'm assuming we're going to pull the Moose Mountain Regional Greenways raffle out of this one. So there'll be 1 raffle permit with the Great Waters Music. Should we have a vote to pull the Moose Mountain Regional Greenways out of the bulk vote to start with?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second to remove the Moose Mountain raffle. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, now I'd entertain a motion for the balance of the bulk vote.
Move to approve bulk vote A through F.
Second.
Motion by Brian, seconded by Luke to approve the bulk vote. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. We have no board or committee appointments under new business. Approval, execution of the loan agreement and certificate of vote for bond. We have Casey with us this evening.
Good evening. Catherine Carpentier, Finance Director for the town of Wolfeboro. I'm here to ask for your vote and execution of the loan agreement and certification of vote. The loan agreement is in the amount of $8 million with a 20-year repayment to fund approximately half of the public safety building renovation and expansion and fund the sewer line extension project for Forest and Barney roads. These two projects were approved by the voters in March. The loan agreement includes the maximum interest cost rate shall be 4.25%, with the first payment for this loan will be in 2024. The Board of Selectmen will need to take a vote to authorize the issuer to enter into the loan agreement with and to sell its bond to the bond bank. The certificate includes proposed resolutions that I will read into the record. Please bear with me. This is procedurally needs to happen. Be resolved that under pursuant to the Municipal Finance Act, Chapter 33, NHRSA as amended, the New Hampshire Municipal Bond Bank Law, Chapter 35A, NHRSA as amended and other laws in addition thereto, and to votes of the issuer duly adopted on March 14, 2023. Under Articles 11 and 13 of the warrant for such annual meeting of the issuer, there be and hereby is authorized the issuance of $8 million bond of the issuer. The bond, which is being issued to the issuer to finance structural replacement, expansion, and renovations and equipment replacement to the public safety building, $7 million. And two, engineering and installing sewer extension on Forest Road in the area of Cary Beach and Barney Road in the area of Friend Street, $1 million. The bond shall be dated as of its date of issuance, shall be in numbers and denominations as the purchaser shall request, shall mature in accordance with the schedule set forth in Exhibit A to a certain loan agreement herein described as the loan agreement, shall bear a net interest cost rate as defined by the loan agreement of 4 1/4% per annum, or such lesser amount as may be determined by the majority of the board. The bond shall be substantially in the form set forth in Exhibit B to the loan agreement and otherwise shall be issued in such manner and form as the signatories shall approve their execution thereof. Resolved that the bond shall be sold to the bond bank at the par value thereof plus any applicable premium. Resolved that in order to evidence the sale of the bond, the treasurer or issuer and a member of the board are authorized and directed to execute, attest, and deliver in the name and on behalf of the issuer a loan agreement in substantially the form submitted to this meeting, which is hereby approved, with such changes therein not inconsistent with this vote and approved by the officers executing the same on behalf of the issuer. The approval of such changes by said officers shall be conclusively evidenced by the execution of the loan agreement by such officers. Resolved that all things heretofore done and all action heretofore taken by the issuer and its officers and agents in its authorization of the project to be financed by the bond are hereby ratified, approved, and confirmed. Resolved that the clerk and the signers of the bond are such hereby authorized to take any and all action necessary and convenient to carry out the provisions of this vote, including delivering the bond against payment thereof. Resolved that the useful life of the projects being financed are in excess of 20 years. If the board is so willing, I would like somebody to make a motion to authorize the issuer to enter into a loan agreement with it and sell its bond to the bond bank. The Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen also adopts attached resolutions related to this bond as read at the meeting on June 7, 2023, and authorizes the chair to sign the loan agreement for $8 million.
So
And I
moved.
make that motion. Oh.
Thank you.
So, motion by Linda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Brian. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you, Casey. Okay, next up is the commercial vessel landing permit for Dive Winnipesaukee Mailboat. Sandy's here tonight.
Good evening. My name is Sandy McKenzie, and I've been doing the mailboat for the past 57 years, so I think I know a little bit about it.
Yeah.
It is a partnership now with Dive Winnipesaukee. They own the boat. I lease the boat for them for the sole purpose of delivering mail to the Wolfeboro Islands and some of the neighboring town islands in Lake Winnipesaukee. Been doing it without interruption for the past 50-plus years, so that's about it.
Okay. Thank you, Sandy. Any questions from the board? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I move that we grant the commercial vehicle landing permit to Dive Winnipesaukee Mail Boat, and we have the insurance policy.
Yep.
Right.
Second.
Motion by Linda, seconded by Luke. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. We're all set, Sandy. Okay. Next up, commercial vessel landing permit for Ambrose Marine Construction Barge. I don't know if we have anybody here from that company or not. These are pretty straightforward. They've been coming in quite regularly here for getting our permits in anyway.
It's nice they're coming in and getting their permits and paying the fees.
Yes, definitely. They have paid the fee. The annual fee is paid.
Yep.
Certificate of insurance is here, so
Yep.
I'd entertain a motion for,
I'll make a motion to grant the commercial vehicle landing permit for Ambrose Marine Construction Barge.
Second.
motion and by Linda, second by, was that Luke or Brian?
Luke.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Next one up is the commercial vessel landing permit for the dive. Do we have somebody here? We do, okay.
Hi, I'm Betsy Sullivan, one of the owners of the dive. We're getting into our 6th season, and we'd love to do some public cruises out of Wolfeboro.
Okay. This will be your first time coming in
Yes, sir.
to Wolfeboro?
Actually, no, we have come into the dive shop dock once for a
Okay.
wedding party.
Yeah, but to our public
Yeah,
docks.
but we always do our cruises through Wolfeboro, so
Yeah.
it's a nice place for us to come.
Do you have any kind of a schedule of what you'd be looking at, or?
We have an idea, but we obviously wanted to see what the other boats' schedules were before we put something specific together, because we'll work around the schedules
Yeah.
and see how it goes.
Okay. Any, Luke?
So we have the Mount Washington obviously come in and out, which that schedule is pretty easy to determine. With the Winnipesaukee Belle was sold to the Mount Washington, they were more of a, they had a nighttime cruise on Thursdays and Fridays, and they did weddings during the nighttime. So was your feeling more, would this be a nighttime or afternoon?
Yes. I mean, we do have an event in Wolfeboro Friday during the day. We're not coming to the docks. It's a private event. So I don't know what will open in the future for us. We've had a lot of people contact us to do cruises and how can they get to us by land. So we really want to open up the cruise sector for non-boaters.
Mm-hmm.
A second option can be the Wolfeboro Corinthian Yacht Club. You could approach their membership, their Commodore, and they have a long dock, their gas dock, that is closed after 5 or 6 o'clock at night. So it could be something, too, that you could work an arrangement with them. How high is your boat off the water? The mount is pretty high out of the water. So I'm concerned about when you pull in, how would you get people on and off the dock at the Mount's dock?
We're actually very buoyant, but we do have a gangway. We've pulled into many public docks for the last 5 years and have never had a problem. It's very safe.
Okay.
It all depends on the water level, too. I mean, it drops during the year,
Yeah.
and we always seem to figure out how to make it work. We've never had any issues loading passengers, and it's pretty quick in and out as well.
I have a, I got a picture of it to try to figure out exactly, which is the one thing that concerns me, is because it's a high dock, and I can't see where you'd put a gangplank.
It's on the bow. You're looking at the port side.
So you're going to come in head-on?
Yes, we don't even touch the dock. We have spuds. We're a barge.
Okay,
So
so
we-
when you come in, you know where our commercial dock is? It's like this.
do.
You're going to come, so you're going to be across Smith River
Yes,
and block up Smith River while you load?
yes. The captain apologizes. He's supposed to be here tonight, but he had an accident with his hand, so he couldn't make it. He used to work for Marine Patrol here many years. He's been on the lake many, many years. So he can dock pretty much anywhere with his eyes shut. And he's former Coast Guard as well, true.
I guess I have some concern. I wonder whether we should have them come in and try to dock and see how it works at that dock. Luke, you know the dock better than anybody.
This is Captain John, is that what you said?
Jamie.
Oh, Captain Jamie. Yeah, I mean, I think, what's the length of that? What's the length of your vessel?
We're 70.
I don't think they, based on the angle, I don't think they would completely block the river. There would still, I think boats could still come in or out, but I'm not opposed to having them come in and give it a try.
I just would like to make sure before we grant it that you can come in and we can get a gangplank out there and it doesn't block up the, that's my concern, that it doesn't cause that. And you're just going to come in, load and go. You're going to not tie up at all.
No, we don't tie up anywhere, no.
Okay. And so when I look at your sign, and I would say we would not okay the sign tonight. I'll check with because
That's
we
the very
haven't gotten all the signs since we redone the dock, so we may have to do that. But it says here, public cruises. Is that, and that makes as if you're going to come in a schedule for cruises here, like the Mount? Is that what you meant by public cruises?
Yeah, they're ticketed events.
So you would come in at 5 o'clock every afternoon to pick up people in Wolfeboro?
Again, I haven't seen the schedule of all the other boats that I know do land here.
I'm just
so I
taking
don't-
a time. That's
yeah,
what you're...
I mean, probably. I'm thinking more 7, but we
Okay, you're going to come in
publicize
at 7 o'clock,
pick up.
out of schedule. People can just walk on the boat and get a ticket on the boat.
Or buy ahead of time. Yep,
Or
they
buy
can
it ahead of
online.
time. Okay, all right.
The Winnipesaukee Bell used to do what they called a Thirsty Thursday cruise.
I'm just trying to get an
Yeah.
understanding
No, I know.
of what she's
And
doing.
I think what they're trying to do is fill that there was a void, that when the bell,
Mm-hmm.
when the bell's gone, that kind of fill it. So that's why I think they're going with it.
I asked the other groups that do things like that, can you please make a mention to all your patrons to park their vehicles back in the Glendon Street lot? Well, maybe not. If it's 7 o'clock at night, you guys are okay. You're outside the 2-hour parking
Absolutely,
window.
yeah.
So that would be okay. If
My
you do
only
do a
con-
day event, have them park in our Glendon Street lot, the back lot, because you could have a lot of people on the boat and a lot of cars that will be parked for hours, because I'm sure that your cruises are longer than 2 hours.
Probably between 2.5 to 3.
Yeah.
I want to do some short ones, but maybe for a
So if
couple
you do
longer.
day events, ask them to park in the Glendon Street lot.
Sure thing.
Most of the people that dock do that.
Okay.
And you then will go out and cruise. You're not going to go out, pick up people, go out in Wolfeboro Bay and anchor.
No, we
Okay,
cruise,
I
no.
just want to make sure
We do not
everybody at
do that.
home hears what we got
I don't want
here.
that responsibility.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to clear that one up. As long as you can get to the dock safely, that's my only concern on it.
What is the width of your vessel?
70 feet.
How much?
Oh, the width? I'm sorry.
Width.
20.
20?
Yeah, I think listen to the angle you're coming in on, and you listen to Luke too and stuff, and knowing where that dock is there, 70 feet long on that angle there. I don't see at all that they'd be blocking off that river there at all. There's going to be plenty of room for boats to get around the backside if they're coming in to go under the bridge or get into those other docks kind of opposite, the channel there from dockside and stuff, so.
Well, I'm just thinking of the Smith River canoe race, and when we come down, the Mount Washington is there, and it's trying to get out, and we're yelling and screaming at everybody to move on over. So is why I'm thinking that we may want to just take a look at the amount of space, because when it is, they're going to have to go a very different way. They do when the Mount Washington's backing out.
Here's a silly, well, not silly, a silly question. Does the gangplank that goes to the boat, does it have to be ADA compliant? being on our town docks? I don't know.
I don't think any of
It's
them
not,
have been.
I guess it is not, it's not our boat, so
No.
I don't think
But
we
it's our
have-
dock. I don't
But,
know.
no,
I
I
have
don't.
no idea.
Oh.
I have no idea.
Let me put it, I don't know the regulations, but it seems like it's their vessel. They would be
That's plenty.
required.
Yeah.
Linda, I just took Google Earth and punched in a 70 by 20 square to give you an idea of what that might look like based on their information.
And that's the angle they have to come in at in order to match up to that dock, which keeps them pretty far out still.
Looks fine.
It looks okay. As long as your ramp doesn't go like this or like this to the dock. I have no idea. How high, your barge, how far is the front of it out of the water?
Probably 2 feet.
2 feet. How
Yeah,
high
but-
is that dock?
The dock is, well, the dock obviously changes with the water height, but, right now it's probably about 7.5 down to the water. But I'm pretty confident, I've seen their apparatus and how it operates, so
Okay.
they don't even touch the dock either. They drop their spuds, they're off the dock.
Oh, they drop.
So they don't even
Yes.
tie up to the dock.
Oh, I understand that.
Yeah.
They don't touch it.
So it actually is pretty zero impact. And just wherever your gangplank hits the dock, just make sure that it's not scratching the dock. The Mount Washington scratched our dock a little bit on the prom night, so just be cognizant of that. And the only thing I can say is, when the Woody Bell used to come in, and I used to drive that years ago, as we made the turn into Wolfeboro Bay, the music came way down, one, because you want your passengers to get ready to disembark as fast as possible, and two, just as courtesy for, 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night coming back into the town docks.
Of course.
Okay, any other questions from the board? No? Somebody have
I would like to hold up on any of approval of the signs until we get all the railings up and take a look down there.
so we could do the approval for the landing portion of it, and then address the sign once we we know what we have for space there.
Yeah, that would be my feeling, is then we can decide how we want signs
Yep.
there on the new dock.
So somebody willing to,
Move to issue a commercial vessel landing permit for the dive to come into, for this coming season, and then we will look at the signage for where the sign will go when we have a better handle of the rest of the signage down the town docks.
How do we?
gotta have a second before we have discussion.
Well, I wanted to know if we could add an amendment.
I'll second it for
Okay,
discussion.
motion and a second, now discussion.
I'm wondering if, how are they going to notify us about their landing times? Should we know in advance, like, should we know 2 days in advance that they're coming in this night, that they're not,
If you can give us, first of all, what you're going to come in regularly, if we have that schedule, and starting when and when it ends, and then if they can, a week ahead of time, give us your cruising schedule, and
Yeah,
then we
I'd like
know.
a schedule. I'd like a set schedule. It's easier for my staff as well. That
Yeah.
They want to
And
work
it-
nights.
Yeah, and it just comes in, and we'd have it and know whether we're going to see you or not.
Is there a place to see everybody else's schedules that I can find them at Washington, obviously, but I know there's a lot of other boats now that are
That Mount
coming in.
Washington's the only one that come in
Yeah, that'll
into
be
the
the
docks.
only one?
All the rest of them come into a lower dock that wouldn't
Okay.
compete with that at all.
I mean, the Sophie may come in once during the season randomly, but that's pretty much it.
Friday?
So it would be very, also too, if you got the schedule down, the chamber could have it on their
Yes.
website, and then
That'd be great.
you'll drive those people that are looking for something to do at night out to.
That'd be excellent. Thank you.
Friday night, August 11th, the dock will not be available.
Okay. Sounds
Okay?
good.
We're having an event that
Okay.
night.
Okay, we have any other discussion? We have a motion by Linda, seconded by Luke,
No, made by Luke, seconded by me.
vice versa, okay?
Yep.
To approve the vessel landing permit with the sign approval coming at a later date.
And a schedule to follow.
And a schedule will follow, yep. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All set?
Thank you very much.
Okay.
We need to see a schedule. We gotta know.
Next one, On the agenda is, turn the page, Boy Scout Troop 165, permission to sell water during the 4th of July parade. Do anybody here from the Boy Scouts?
This is something that we've granted every
Right.
year. They've gone down. I don't see any problem in us doing it if nobody's here.
Yep, I agree. Would somebody like to make that a motion?
Move approval, permission to, wait, we're doing the E right now, is that the one? Move to waive the hawkers and peddlers license permit for the Boy Scouts to sell water during 4th of July parade. Rain date on the July parade is 7/5.
Second.
Motion by Luke, seconded by Brian. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Next on the agenda, Boy Scout Troop 165 member to do a project on town property.
Hello, my name is Blake Sandlin. I'm a citizen of Wolfeboro. I'm working on my Eagle project, and the last thing that I need to do is make an Eagle project. And I came to Christine Collins with an idea because I've always skied at Abenaki since I was young, and I wanted to give back to them. And she came up with the idea to build a kiosk down at the bottom. And I would take down the old sign, which is just a trail map, and I'd replace it with a more long-lasting kiosk with a metal roof and a big board so they could post like events and stuff like that. And I'd also make a sign at the top of Abenaki where the skiers leave the rope tow that would point the skiers in the direction of each trail and what colors or how the difficulty of each trail. Yeah.
Right. Yep. That sounds like a great project.
It does.
Any questions from the board?
No, it sounds like it'll be a great addition to Abenaki.
Yes. Definitely, especially with the new trails we have up there and
Absolutely,
how
yeah.
they intersect with the cross-country trails and all that. So I would entertain a motion for this young gentleman.
Move to grant permission for the Boy Scout Troop number 165 member to do a project on town property, building a kiosk at Abenaki with the trails mapped and their difficulty listed.
Second.
Motion by Brian, seconded by Luke. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, and good luck with that.
Yes.
Okay, let's see. The Water Ski Club is off. So the next on our agenda is for the New Hampshire State Police Marine Patrol for vessel space.
So earlier last week, I guess it was, Captain Davies from New Hampshire State Police contacted me regarding wanting to utilize dock space to stage a Marine Patrol vessel in the town of Wolfeboro. He provided me the particulars on the vessel that might be located in Wolfeboro, which is in your packet, with the dimensions of it. And Captain Davey is here to speak on behalf of this request. Captain?
Good evening. Thank you for having me. I am the Field Area Commander of Field Area 1 for the New Hampshire State Police, and Marine Patrol has the dubious distinction of being part of that field area. So with jurisdictional authority over the inland and coastal waters of the state of New Hampshire of more than 10 acres and the responsibility to investigate all boating accidents that result in damage over $2,000 or injury or death. Considering the size of this lake, considering Lake Winnipesaukee in particular, we had in 2008, I'm told, somewhere along the order of 22 part-time Marine Patrol officers who seasonally patrolled this lake. This year, we have 22 part-time Marine Patrol officers for the state of New Hampshire.
Wow.
So further good news is we're hiring, and we would love to talk to you all about how easy it is to become a contributing member of New Hampshire's, keeping New Hampshire the safest state in the nation. So I grew up in this area. I grew up on a boat. I love this lake. I'm really pleased to be a part of the Marine Patrol mission as part of the state police family. So I know that there are 20 islands in the town of Tuftonboro. There are 27 in the town of Wolfeboro, and somewhere around that order in the town of Alton. We have troopers, including myself, who actually assist Marine Patrol. So you may actually see green shirts on those boats out there this year. God willing, you will. And the point of this request is that if we could stage a boat here on this eastern shore of the lake, the irony that would save us from having to deal with is I get a phone call in the middle of the night about an emergency or someone causing a dangerous condition to others trying to enjoy the lake. I would have to run my blue lights on 4 wheels all the way over to Glendale to hop on a boat to come all the way back here, where from my house to that dock with the blue lights, 4.5 minutes or so. 5 if it makes you more comfortable.
3 if you're in a hurry.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And so I think that for the sake of our ability to respond to emergencies, that it would be advantageous. I think that it would be advantageous, and I've spoken with Captain Livy about the fact that on any of those 27 islands for the town of Wolfeboro, if they get a law enforcement call, they go out with the fireboat, but the fire personnel, and well advisedly, want not to expose themselves to that situation that the law enforcement officers go to. So they tend to offset, and the law enforcement officer have to travel by foot. My purpose would be to bring them directly out there, and they've got backup built in with them along with all of our equipment. So there's another advantage there is response to and services to the members of the public. Beyond that, I think that for what I would argue is the busiest set of docks on the lake, I've been to all of them. I think that we probably have the most dock space as compared with the Weirs and Alton and Meredith. The oldest summer resort in America. I think that it's a really good look to demonstrate to the public and to all of our visitors that we have a public safety stance that is, yeah, dock space brings people in to come and enjoy our town, but it also is used for us to be able to ensure for them that it's a safe and enjoyable experience. I did field a couple of questions, or I have received a couple of questions, I believe from you gentlemen and you ma'am, with regard to the question of parking, and I really didn't think too much about that, to tell you the truth. My presumption would be, I would hope my cruiser will still be there when I get back, wherever it is that I put it. And in entertaining that, I considered right here behind the town hall and trotting down the hill, or perhaps right behind the post office, perhaps even Glendale or Railroad. But find a spot, hope, one, definitely ensure that it's not a spot that's going to prevent fire apparatus or anything else, and get out on that boat and help people. The question of whether or not it'll be used for emergency response only or for patrol, routine patrol purposes, it'd be used for both. With members of the state police, both Marine Patrol and state police proper, who live to the eastern side of the lake and some north and south, this would be the best port for them to pull out of. There aren't that many, as I've kind of elucidated, but for those of us who are on this side, it would definitely save some time and help us to be more mission effective on the water. With regard to the question of whether or not we would pull out from those docks and be out there just looking for violators, I turn left or right out of my driveway and it's open season. So the plain answer, looking you dead in the eyes, of course, is yes. Yes, we will. That said, as far as any presumption that we pull 50 feet away from the dock and we just pull people in and give them tickets, it couldn't be farther from the truth. A really important part of our mission is just explaining to most people, hey, you know when you came out from the bridge at 40 miles per hour and you buzzed by those kids on their Sevalor? That can't happen. Sometimes that comes with a price tag, but a lot of what we do is really just safety education. We're checking people's vessels registrations, make sure that they're appropriately trained and ready to guide those vessels, and that they're going to do so safely. We try for that to be, in most situations, an enriching experience. As I said, we're hiring, and we might have to skip a generation the way things have been going. So we hope that the kids enjoy meeting us if their parents don't. And I'm open for any other questions you might have.
Yeah, that was, my main question was whether it's going to be a patrol or if it'd be just for emergency purposes, but you already answered that one, so.
Yes, sir.
Linda?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, and I even have the spot for it, because we had an electric boat in our, what is it, G and F dock that got hit twice last year, and we can put you right in that dock, and maybe nobody will want to hit any of our other boats.
Yes, our boat is kind of a marine version of a Nerf coating all around the outside of it, so it may actually survive the boaters who did yours in last year. Yeah, the vessels that we would propose they're called ambars. They're made by Silver Ships, specific patrol boats, and they've got that inflatable and ruggedized exterior to the hull.
Yeah, I think we can, work some space out there. I'm for it. I think that's a great idea.
Absolutely.
So I think I think with that vessel coming in, and then with MED's new landing craft boat, I think those two docks are going to be dedicated to commercial only, commercial municipal only, with the mailboat as well in there, and that would probably be closed off completely.
Yeah, running interference for us.
Yeah.
It would be ideal. I mean, I go down to the town docks just to watch people wreck boats every once in a while on a slow afternoon. So it would be great.
Yeah.
And then you would probably need to mark the posts.
Yes, sir. That would be valuable. I do recognize that this is rather experimental. I do not profess to know what the regularity of our going out there would be. The commander of Marine Patrol actually lives well north of the lake, but he's on the eastern side. So I would propose to him that he make that his commuter over to Glendale at least once in a while. And then, the permit application ahead of us gave me reason to be grateful that we'd have some blue lights in Wolfeboro Bay. Truth be told, probably better on land, but we'll be there.
What would the dock space be called? Is it G2?
Well, it's docks, it's F and G.
It's F and G?
So F is electric boat right now, and then nothing behind it, which would be potentially where Marine Patrol would go. Okay. And then G has the mailboat and fire.
So we call F1 would be our MED boat, and F2 would be the Marine Patrol space, something like that?
I think as long as they mark the posts, people won't park there. So we were dealing with the fireboat went out a few times last year, I think. We didn't have any signage up, and as soon as they went out, somebody would roll in there in a pontoon boat, park up, and then fireboat would come back, and there'd be no parking for them.
Yeah.
So as long as the posts are marked, New Hampshire State Police or Marine Patrol or whatever, I think you won't have an issue.
Yeah, put
Yes,
a
sir.
sign there
Given
saying-
the way that those docks rather pinch together and then open up to the inside, perhaps you could string a line across with a sign on it that says parking here for public vessels or government vessels, something like that.
Yeah, if you guys are good with it, I know Deputy Chief Nichols has already sized a lot of this up. If he can work with Captain Davies and we can have them work with Bruce from the Highway Department as far as lettering, we can get this taken care of in pretty short order.
Right.
I've got a pretty good idea what the board's expecting, and we can report back to you.
Yep.
So move to authorize dock space on dock F behind our MED boat?
Well, why don't we just give them permission, and then, I don't know what the new MED boat's going to be or where we want to, why don't we let the staff kind of position for the best position of them, but it's on dock F.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, Nate, do you want to talk to that at all? The deputy's got a pretty good handle on the size of the boats in play here and an idea of what he kind of looked at this week to configure.
Yeah, so just quickly, assuming that the mailboat is staying where the mailboat currently is, that it makes most sense to me, and I'm sure Captain Davey would agree, to have the Marine Patrol boat where the current ME boat is, and then slide the ME boat behind it, and just that's going to limit anything else. I don't think we're going to get anybody that's going to try to parallel park against the whatever it is there on the backside of it. So that was kind of the plan. And we measured it all out, and everything will fit, and so it'll be the best.
All right, so we can just say on dock F.
Yeah.
Okay. So, move to authorize the New Hampshire State Police Marine Patrol to park a vessel on Dock F for the 2023 season.
I'll second.
Motion by Brian, seconded by Linda. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Welcome to Wolfeboro.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
Okay, next on our,
Brad, Captain Davy, do you have an idea of when that vessel would be in town, just so that we are aware?
Well, it's getting dark, sir, so it'll be at least tomorrow. No, I'll happily communicate with you or with fire and police and make a mutually agreeable time within the next couple of weeks. Really,
Yeah, if you
as long
want
as
to
it's before the season
coordinate
really
with them,
kicks.
that would be wonderful.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
thanks. Okay, next on our agenda is a solar farm pilot agreement. I believe we have, this is going to be,
So I believe you've received all the documents that you've asked for. Our legal counsel, who worked with us for the purchase power agreements, provided you his legal opinion. And I believe Andrew Keller is from New Hampshire Solar Garden, is online this evening. If you have any questions for him, he's there, but I believe you have all the documents you requested.
okay. I looked through these, you know, we all have the understanding, we understand this isn't going to, none of the power is going to, you know, come into Wolfeboro benefit us. It's going out through New Hampshire co-ops into their system out that direction. And I guess I kind of had a concern about, you know, what the benefits for Wolfeboro were going to be to enter into a pilot program here for payment in lieu of taxes for a facility that's going to be providing service to other towns and not to Wolfeboro here. So it's kind of on the fence on this one myself. So if anybody else has any questions or concerns or.
I thought we were going to get paid a certain amount a month. Am I off on that?
It was $3,500 per I saw it.
Kilowatt?
Yeah.
That's going to come to us. We're not going to get the electricity, but
Right.
we're going to get a payment per kilowatt
Right.
hour. So what the benefit is to Wolfeboro is added revenue.
But isn't this in lieu of taxes, though? You know, is this going to be a less income for us than it would be if it was a regular tax bill on the improvements on the property?
It isn't, I don't think for us. I think when we do lieu of taxes, Jim, am I correct, they do not pay the school or the county, they still pay the town.
That's my understanding.
Yeah, that's my understanding too, plus the kilowatt hours.
I think that's how it was written in here. That was my understanding too, so.
Okay, so plus the,
Yeah, we'll get our assessed value of it with the thing on it, that when you do lieu of taxes is,
Yep.
the rest of the taxpayers have to make up the school and the county. They don't. That's
Okay.
but we still get our rate, town rate, and then we get a certain amount per kilowatt. Jim, where's that money per kilowatt hour? Is that going to MED? What are we going to do with it, if I'm correct here?
I mean, I think it would have to go to the general fund.
It'll
would
go
think.
into the general fund.
I would think
Okay,
that's
I
where it
just
would have to
wanted-
go.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, if I may, do I have a chance to comment on your concern that you had?
This is Mr. Keller. Mr. Keller, you're going to have to speak up a little bit.
Okay, I'll speak up. So the concern about the amount of tax revenue that's coming in, I just want to point out to the board that currently the property owner who is here in the audience can speak to it if you need her to answer any questions. But I think right now her tax bill on that property is about $100 a year. So we'll be increasing that tax revenue to the town to $14,000 a year. So it's new income for the town, and there'll be little to no services requested from the town. There would be no children in the school system. So the intent here is to take a piece of land that has been creating very little tax revenue and turning into a stronger tax generating facility without, the resources that maybe a commercial building or a housing subdivision might need. So that's just a distinction on how these projects are structured such that, they can move forward in their financing, and it's one of our last steps in the permitting process. We already have all of our local and state permits in hand. New Hampshire Electric Co-op has finished all their work, and Eversource is just wrapping up their details over the next 30 days or so here. So, with the support of the board, this can allow the project to move forward and create a new source of tax revenue for the community. So that's the most direct impact to the town of Wolfeboro, even though we're not putting power on your electrical system.
The land's also going to be used for farming too, correct?
Yep, so this is the first project in the state of New Hampshire history at this scale that will be used what they call agrivoltaic. So we'll be utilizing a dual purpose land where Amanda and her son will continue to farm the property by putting their livestock out around the panels. Again, nobody in New Hampshire has done this at a larger scale like this. So we're very, very excited to have Wolfeboro be the home of that first in New Hampshire's history. And it will allow for Amanda and her son to continue to utilize the property for farming purposes.
Any other questions from the board?
So I'll make a motion to move to sign the solar farm pilot agreement.
I'll second that.
Motion by Brian, seconded by Linda. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, we're all set.
Great. Thank you very much to the board. I very much appreciate it.
Okay, next on our agenda, discussion regarding a proposal to amend the tennis pickleball court rules.
So Mr. Santoro's here this evening. He'd like to broach the subject with the Board of Selectmen about potentially reconfiguring the pickle and tennis ball courts in a fashion which would allow for greater pickleball play. He has some information that he would like to discuss with you to be able to consider.
Good evening. I'm Joe Santoro, once again before you to talk about pickleball, but also about the general use of Foss Field courts. I do have some handouts for you, and with your permission, I'll pass them out.
Yep. Thanks, Nate.
Thank you.
I apologize for not getting these things earlier to you.
Thank you.
Jim reminded me today that I should have had them to you by June 2nd, and I missed that deadline.
Tell Officer Davies, I'd love him to be there.
But in essence, I'm here to talk about one issue with two facets to it. The first is the sign at Foss Field. For many years, we had a sign both at the pickleball courts and at the entrance to the tennis courts indicating town policy with regard to their use. It's my recollection that they have not been there for 2 or 3 years, and the absence of those signs has caused some altercations that I believe if you restore the signs, we could ease some of the tensions that arise, not between the regular tennis players and the regular pickleball players, but the visitors. The visitors just don't know what to do. Those of us who are normal users of Foss Field know what the rules are, but the others do not. To give you an illustration, one of the courts, one of the tennis courts, court number 4, and for a point of reference, court number 1 is by the green shed, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 is by the pickleball courts. A couple of weeks ago, 2 tennis players occupied court 4 for almost 2 hours during time that was posted for use by pickleball. Now that was an improved policy. Despite being asked 3 times to move to another court, they refused. And we couldn't point to a posted rule to let them realize that the town had said that court 4 was for pickleball use during that time period. So number one is to ask the town to restore the 2 signs to Foss Field. The second part of my request is to provide you with suggested modifications to those rules if and when the sign gets put up. And those rules comprise 2 basic points. First, with regard to Court 4, the current rule is that pickleball gets to use it up until 4 p.m., after which time it's first come, first serve. Well, we would like that 4 p.m. limit to be removed with the promise in writing that if tennis players show up to use it and there are no pickleball players there, let them use it. We're just saying that we believe that Court 4 should be the dominant court for the pickleball players. Now, we've been keeping statistics on who uses the courts, and in the last week, for example, the last 10 days, only 51 tennis players have used Foss Field, whereas 251 pickleball players have been there. So that indicates that 83% of the court use is for pickleball. And when I mentioned that those 2 tennis players occupied Court 4 during our period of time, they refused to get off even though there were 22 pickleball players waiting to go on. So once again, if the sign is back up there, we as a group can point to the town-approved rules and indicate to visitors primarily what court usage would have to be. The second point of the presentation has to do with what are the limitations that is in those court policies. It says, under current policy, that if someone is on the courts, they can stay on the courts for 60 minutes before getting off. Well, we propose that that be reduced to 30 minutes for the following reason. With regard to pickleball, a typical pickleball game lasts 16 or 17 minutes. But if that court is used by that same group for up to an hour, we will have dozens of people waiting to use it. And as far as tennis players are concerned, Brian, let's presume for a moment that you and your family decide to use the tennis courts. And you walk up there, there's no place to sign up, you just walk up there with you and your wife and whoever. If you find that the courts are occupied, under the current rule, you couldn't get on those courts for a full hour. But if you knew that all you had to do was wait 30 minutes, you might be more inclined to stay. But faced with an hour delay, you're probably going to leave and not come back. So in essence, the second part deals with restricting occupancy to 30 minutes. And if they get off, they can get back in line with everybody else. The other parts of the attachment simply deal with some cosmetic issues. But again, the primary thing for me being here tonight is to ask you to restore the signs, to ask that the Court 4 be used predominantly by pickleball, deferring to tennis players if the court is not being used, and to reduce the wait time from 60 minutes, or the guaranteed time, from 60 minutes to 30.
Couple questions, Joe, if I could. First of all, I just want to say that, I appreciate you getting this to us, but it's, being as we just got to look at it tonight, I would doubt very much we're going to make any decision. I think we'd want to look at it and think about it and stuff, whereas if we'd gotten it, we all read our stuff over the weekend or earlier this week stuff, so to kind of ponder it. But question I have is, or a comment too, in the beginning here on the first page here, your statistics there about 51 tennis players and 252 pickleball players. That's in basically a week time frame from May 27th through June 4th, whereas our summer clientele or people haven't really shown up yet. So I would expect that, that those numbers would change. Maybe percentages might stay the same, I don't know, but I think I think you would need really a full season of statistics there to have something that we could really sink our teeth into on that. And I kind of, going back to the, I don't call it a conflict, but in that Court 4 incident that we had that was happened there a while ago, am I correct to understand that it was the high school team was down there playing? It wasn't?
To answer your first question, yes, I anticipate that you folks need time to read this.
Right.
I don't expect to make a decision tonight, and Jim pointed it out to me earlier today, which is fine, because yes, you should have time to reflect. But the incident I'm referring to did not involve children. They involved adults who should have known better. But we had nothing to point to at the time because the signs were gone. And the incident occurred between 7:30 and 9:30 on a Friday morning, and I think the date was whatever, Friday the 28th, Friday the 27th.
Linda?
Yeah, I don't have any problem posting signs, and I think that's a good idea, the signs. I don't need to read anything more to get our rules up. It's a good move for us to do that. I think playing tennis, you play 6 games are a set, and you usually play 2 sets out of 3 as the winner. So I think tennis takes longer to play. And so if you start moving it down to a half hour, I think a lot of tennis players are going to be upset because they probably will not finish their game or their sets. I don't have any trouble if you want the time for pickleball to be only a half hour. And I still have to read over that, but that's my first response. I think it takes longer for 2 people to play a set.
And I share that opinion as well. I was just trying to
Joe,
have some
can you just talk
commonality.
into the mic so people can hear you?
I'm sorry? Oh, I'm
The
sorry.
mic.
So yes, as far as pickleball is concerned, we think 30 minutes is more than enough for a single game. But if you choose to leave an hour for tennis, that's fine. I was merely trying to help the tennis players who come and sit there for long periods of time and can't get on the court. But I'm primarily here, as you might imagine, to talk about pickleball. So if you change one and leave the other, that's up to the tennis players to work out.
Just a question. So courts 1, 2, and 3 would never get used by pickleball, is that correct?
Court 3 is used by pickleball when the tennis players are not there.
Okay. But not courts 1 or 2 ever?
Correct.
Okay.
Courts 1 and 2, Luke, have not been striped for anything but tennis.
Okay.
Courts 3 and 4 are transitional. They're used for both tennis and pickleball.
Okay.
And the town has painted lines down there for us. I think you're right. The primary thing is getting those signs up. Because before the tourists really get here, we need to be able to say, it's time to move.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Christine,
I'm sorry.
would you like to?
Give me a moment to move aside, Chris.
Christine Collins, Parks and Rec. Courts 1 and 2 are designated for Parks and Rec programming, and then it can be used for tennis. So those we kind of set for Parks and Rec, and then it's allowed for tennis. And then that's why Court 3 is tennis. And then we have Court 4 for pickleball, and then it transitions for tennis. Same thing with Court 3. It's day tennis, night pickleball. That we did put our signs down there temporarily because we knew we were having this meeting, so we didn't want to go and print new signs. We did have signs. I don't know where they went. So we did a temporary on each of the courts just to have the current rules in place. And then after this meeting, we wanted to figure out if it was changing at all.
Does your sign say that day camp uses court 1 and 2 from what time to what time?
Yep, so it has it that it's designated for our programming. However, if it's not in use, it is open to tennis.
Is there a time period? So are we talking about if I go down and I'm a tennis player and your camp is on, I've got 1 possible court to play on?
Mm-hmm. So, yes.
And you do it from when you open at 9 till 3 or 4 when?
So we have day camp down there, so when we have day camped hours, it's usually a 9 to 3:30, and then they have that availability to use the courts. Plus, we also have some programming with the tennis program, Tennis in the Parks, we just collaborated with. So I don't think it monopolizes it the whole time, but there is some set times. I think there is still a tennis population, so I just don't want to go pickleball crazy and then we're leaving the tennis players out, even if they're not always down there.
Yeah, I guess I didn't realize that there are 2 courts. They really only have 1 court while we have day camp going on.
Mm-hmm.
Available, and that is not a lot of court time.
I just saw a sign today, too, down at Foss Field, but down by the courts. It was
Tennis in the Parks.
It was advertising, trying to get more people to play tennis, I think.
Yes,
right?
it's our Tennis in the Parks. We collaborated with USTA to try to bring more tennis in the parks. So that's the program we'll have starting this summer with day camp.
And for a little information, I just did some research, and it's about 55 minutes for a 3-game pickleball match, and 3-set tennis match is about 90 minutes. So it does take a little bit longer. I bet I can play ping pong quicker than pickleball, too. You know, it's smaller tables, smaller.
But Brian, that's not the way we play at Foss Field. We only play that pickleball thing that we're talking about, those games, during tournaments, not during recreational play. And in recreational play, which is what happens every single day except when we're on a tournament, it takes 17 to 18 minutes to do a single game, and the players get off and let somebody else take a turn. Okay. For tennis, I'll let you do your own thing, but we know.
So if they were to play one set of tennis, it would be 30 minutes.
It could be. I haven't played tennis in decades.
Last time
quick.
I
played tennis
And
was
that's
with
quick.
Brad.
That's quick, yeah.
Last time was when I played with you, and I haven't played since. But yes, if you choose to keep the rule for tennis, work with Christine on that. I'm just concerned about, we have so many pickleball players coming down there, and I want to be sure that everybody takes a turn. That's all.
Well, they always can go up to Pop Whaling.
Pardon?
They can always go up to Pop Whaling.
And pay.
Correct? That's right. If they really want to play, we line courts there for them to play.
Right, which is why we're working with Jim on Filter Bed Road.
Yep.
Hopefully it'll come soon.
My other question is, when you count the 251 players, is that 251 unique players or 251 people that play?
We counted them the same way we count the tennis players. If a tennis player came 5 days a week, we counted them 5 times.
Okay.
We just count on a daily basis.
Okay.
But Brad is right. When the summer season comes up, the number of pickleball players is going to far exceed the ratios you see here, because we have hundreds of pickleball players who show up, hundreds. In a typical day, a typical hour, we'll have 6 courts in use, as long as we're not interfering with the tennis people.
Well, then, if you're doing that and you have 6 court use, there'll be 0 tennis courts available.
No.
Because day camp has the other 2.
How long do you have?
They put 2 pickleball courts on 1 tennis court.
How many days? When does it end?
I thought he was using both.
Oh, really?
So he ends up.
No, we
have-
always defer to what Christine does. It's whenever she frees up something.
Okay, so there'll be 1 court when there always will be court 3 open, and you will not.
Yeah.
But if no tennis is there, you use it well.
But we're looking for some flexibility in court 4, because right now it says here that anybody can take it after 4 o'clock. But we've got hundreds of, the existing rule says that after 4 o'clock on.
No, it does. I don't
On
think.
court 4, yeah.
No, court 3 does.
If you look at the handout, Linda, on the 3rd page, I have the current policy versus the.
Policy I have that it is for pickleball use from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Right.
And
And
that's,
then after that, it's first come, first serve.
But
Yeah.
if you're saying there's no tennis players, then that means you're probably using it, right?
Yes, but if that rule is posted, that means that tennis players can get in the queue on Monday night or any night when we have 30, 40 people
yeah,
trying to use those
I
courts.
don't have any problem. I've gone down there and I don't see, I very rarely see anybody after 12 o'clock playing pickleball. Noon. I go down there. It's
Oh, no, we
empty.
come in the morning.
I said after 12 o'clock, when I drive around, I haven't seen anybody on the pickleball courts at that time.
We play typically from 7:30 to about 11:30 and then come back at night. Because most people like the beach in the afternoon or the hot weather. But the same is true for tennis. You won't see any tennis players there either. Tennis players tend to leave at night.
There are those hours to play.
Yeah. Tennis players tend to vacate the courts by 9:30, 9:45. But I'm not speaking for them. I'm just asking that court 4, we remove that time limit. We'll still use first come, first serve, but the time limit is a trouble.
Okay, I think what we should do is obviously keep this on our
Put it on the
agenda,
next
put our
agenda.
next agenda here for the 21st, which is kind of the beginning of the summer season here, so we can make a decision on our rules and regulations there and
Sure, I understand that.
go from there.
Yeah, and we're going to keep statistics. We do it every single day. We count pickleball players as well as tennis players.
Yep.
And I'm sure the ratio is going to spread
Yep.
as time goes on. But thank you for the time this
Right.
evening and for listening.
Joe, do you have a point of contact for any of the, is there a tennis club that, you guys have a sign-up genie or something like that? Is there something for the tennis players to do that down there? Or do you have a point of contact for the tennis players that I could reach out to?
The tennis players are primarily focused around a group called the Wolfeboro Racketeers. How they set up their things, I don't know. But it's my understanding that what they do is use their courts, the courts, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings from roughly 7 a.m. to 10 a.m., and then they're gone. That's the only organized tennis group that I'm aware of, unless Christine knows. Do you know of any organized group other than the Wolfboro Racketeers? No.
And do you know a representative from that group?
I've forgotten the names.
If you could email it to me, that would be great, Joe. Thank you.
I've forgotten the names. But we have so many pickleball players, we use what's called sign-up genius, so people will know how many people are there and they choose to come or not. When they see 40 people signed up, they don't come.
You can always pay $6 and go to Pop Whalen.
Plug.
I am. I mean, we put the courts in there.
Yeah.
You don't want to not play.
Well,
you can pay your $6. It's nothing.
Well, but we've had some issues at Pop Whalen, and I don't mean to. And one of those is we've had some players who won't go back there anymore because the court's too slippery. We've had an elderly woman, she's about 81 years old. She was playing pickleball. She fell, had to go to the hospital for some stitches. So unless you do something to the surface, that's going to make it less friendly for pickleball players. Hi, sure.
Yeah. So we did have an elderly woman hurt herself, but it was before she started playing pickleball because they had just arrived. So she hadn't played yet. They had just arrived.
She told me that she was chasing a ball in a game.
Well, they had just arrived, and I was there. So, but that's besides the point, and that's the only issue we've had. So.
Yeah, that's not part of tonight's discussion here anyway, so. All right, so we'll keep this on our agenda for 2 weeks and go from there.
Thank you very much for letting me speak.
Thanks, Joe. Okay, next on the agenda, request to apply for a CDBG grant to support third phase of Harriman Hill project.
Hello, I'm Sal Stephen Hubbard. I'm the Real Estate Development Director with Lakes Region Community Developers, and we are hoping to do a third phase of the Harriman Hill project on Beck Road, and would like to apply for CDBG funds to support that project. And I'm happy to answer. I think you have some information in your packet, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Is this going to be that portion there's been a phase there to complete that had the single-family homes on it?
It was. We were unable to make the single-family homes project financially feasible. So now we're looking at a rental project.
So this is a different approach to it then?
Correct.
Okay.
So, yeah, I wish we had known about this earlier because the train museum just came in for, wasn't that a government, same grant? And I asked before we did that, was there any other coming? Because if I had known that, I definitely would have put it for this. So that would mean the town, I would still put it in, but it sounds like then the town would be applying for two.
Be some competition there then amongst ourselves, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would put this one first because it's addressing housing. And I don't know if we can, whether anything has gone in, but this would be my first choice for us to support a government block grant.
I would assume there'd be somewhere on the application to have that type of explanation, maybe, I don't know.
I would like it, and I don't know how far the Railroad Museum has gone, but I see where other board members, I would like to put them behind this is the order the town wants.
Well, I think we should probably, approve this request for support to move it forward anyway, and then we can address that competition part of it, or, during the application process, I would assume, I would hope.
Yeah, and I'll check with our grant writer. Donna Lane will be writing the grant for us, and I'll just kind of check with her and see what the implication is of having two going in.
Okay. Tavis, you have something you'd like to add?
Just briefly, Tavis Austin, Director of Planning and Development. Yes, I ran into this not in Wolfeboro, but in 2 other municipalities. And in that instance, the city council put together a memo that was signed by all, saying these came in at 2 disjunct points. Had we known this was happening when this was happening, please consider this, or however you'd like to phrase it. Ultimately, it's up to CDBG, but at least you have the ability to say, look, we recognize we have 2, here's our preference.
Yep.
If you want to go that way.
So Tavis, a couple of quick questions. This is still going to be 60 bedrooms, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
And I talked to Kathy Bernard, and she was sure but unsure whether or not these 60 bedrooms are included in the most recent survey we did of our sewage treatment plant usage.
As I wasn't part of constructing the study, I can't answer that. But when Kathy and I were both talking with Dave Ford, all of the allocation that was granted to Harriman Hill, the sewer and water allocation that was granted at the original approval, was included in the report. What we then discovered with that is Harriman Hill has yet achieved even 2/3 of the allocation granted by the town. And I don't know how that information was transmitted to the engineers. So if you say, let's just say Harriman Hill was granted 100 gallons a day, they have yet to cross 65 gallons a day. And obviously the phase 3 with the same number of bedrooms is not going to increase that to even the original allocation.
So your guesstimate is it was included?
Correct. The key piece to this from my perspective, regulations aside, it's the same number of bedrooms. They've done the market analysis to come up with a more Wolfeboro compatible housing model. They're going from 2 and 3 bedroom homes down to 1 and 2 bedroom units. That's where the primary demand is in the community.
Yep.
So you have a smaller footprint overall that was originally approved. You have the same bedroom count, so the water and sewer use is functionally the same. I think it's a really good change for the project.
And these will be rentals, not condos?
That's correct.
Correct.
Any reason why we didn't opt for condos? We're going from houses to rentals?
Can I answer that?
Absolutely.
So there are very few subsidized financing sources in New Hampshire for homeownership projects. This is what we ran into with trying to do the single-family homes that were not connected. But that same issue would come up if we were going to do condominiums. We could maybe make them a little more, by tightening up the site and connecting the units, we could certainly make some inroads into that financial feasibility, but we really didn't feel like the market was there for that product. And we also know that there are very, very few resources out there to make homeownership affordable to first-time home buyers, which is that was the market that we were looking for.
I know a young couple right now that are looking at a $290,000 house for sale in Wolfeboro, and they have very modest means, and they're using FHA and with a very, very low down payment amount, and it's going very well for them. So I don't.
Well, when we were trying to do the single-family detached housing, which is what our market study said the market would want, and those were very small houses,
They were three-bedroom houses, right?
They were three-bedroom houses, correct.
Wouldn't a one or two-bedroom condo be smaller than a three-bedroom house?
Yes, our market study suggested that the market that we were trying to reach, which was first-time home buyers, young families, would prefer to buy single-family detached houses with garages. So when we were starting to do the financing for that project, the cost of infrastructure added into the cost of the house. So we're talking about building water, sewer, a road, as well as the houses, put the price point of those houses outside the reach of the market that we were trying to reach.
So people on modest income buying their first house want a three-bedroom colonial with a two-car garage.
It wasn't a colonial, it was a single floor. It was like a ranch, more like a ranch than a colonial. It was slab on grade, which is what was driving the garage, because people have stuff. They have kayaks and grills and lawnmowers, and it wasn't really for the cars. It was for all the stuff that people have, that when you don't have a basement and you have a very small envelope to your house, you have to have somewhere for that stuff to be put, your bicycle, right? Like, so if you have a 1,200 square foot or a 1,400 square foot house with no basement and no usable attic, you need to have a garage.
So like my first house.
Could be.
That I built. Okay.
Could be, yeah.
Okay.
But we couldn't make that project financially feasible, which is why we pivoted to a rental project.
If there are other questions, do you want somebody would like to make a motion to support applying for this CDBG grant?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on Linda and Luke to apply for support the CDBG grant for the third phase of Harriman Hill. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we get that memo.
I'll get a priority memo off tomorrow.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay.
No, it was just that you were applying for a government block grant. That's all I had.
Okay, next on our agenda, to adopt the revised town ordinance, chapter 112, peace and good order trash receptacles. So, Tavis.
See, this is what happens when you have your planning director here 3 nights in a row. By night 3, everybody leaves. I don't take it personally. So this is a rewrite of the draft that the board has already seen. This is proposing section 112-4. No person shall place a trash can or similar receptacles at curbside or roadside for more than 24 hours. The first read was overnight. Obviously, that leads to questions of how long is overnight, but 24 hours was the rewrite the board requested. So if this is in line with what the board was thinking, there's a suggested motion at the bottom. You need to have a public hearing, and then that could move forward. I'm up for any questions or modifications.
Yeah, I have, we were trying to not get the trash cans overnight because of getting into animals. So 24 hours, you could put it out at, 4 in the afternoon is for the next day. We don't deal with that. You could do something like that they couldn't leave it. You could say not from 6 p.m. until 6 the next morning. That would take care of overnight. But then I think we had Mr. Sims, who was concerned he wanted to put his can out overnight. So you could do something like from 6 p.m. to 12 p.m. the next day, and that the person is responsible for securing the trash can so animals can't get in, and if the animals do get in, they're responsible picking up the trash. And the reason I say that is we had that exact issue happen on Pleasant Valley Road, and they left their cans out, the animals got in, we had trash all over the place, and finally, the police had to come down to address it. So, you know, where Mr. Sims is having his trash can out overnight, there's no threat for animals, but I think that was the issue with the person who came on Pleasant Street, that there were animals getting in. And so I was thinking of seeing if we could reword it to either make them responsible, you know, for picking it up and getting the trash cans in at a certain time, or I would like to go back to not overnight.
Can we do?
It's all private, so it all
6
varies.
to 9 a.m. probably.
Well, my trash guy comes around 9:30.
Yeah. Make it 11 a.m. That gives them plenty of time to
Yeah,
get it
that's
in.
fine.
And then make sure that it says the can has to be secured from animal intrusion, and any litter must be picked up by the owner, or else they will be fined for littering.
Yeah, can we keep the first?
I know who's
He's right
enforcing
there.
it. Raise
I have
your
a
hand.
How much is our?
Can we keep the first law? I mean, are these going to be like, can we have the first thing and then the next one, you know, be no trash should be let?
112.4 will become 112.4A.
Okay, which should,
Can to be secure from animal intrusion. C.
no trash shall be left overnight.
Trash is left on the side of the property.
Oh,
Luckily, the planning director is here.
What's our littering ordinance? If somebody litters, what's their fine?
$50.
50?
Yeah, I'm with you. Let's hear, you were
Let's
going,
get,
let's
because
go,
he's
Luke.
put time into this, and if we can get this written out, then we can.
I'm only
set a
putting in
public-
time based on the number of
Well,
times you guys rewrite
But then
it.
we
so
could set a public hearing on it, and we can get through this and be
Okay.
done with it, too.
Go through yours.
So we have A would be no.
So 112.4.
Wait, he's going to go through
I
his.
think Linda said A would be no trash should be left overnight, right?
Yeah.
No
Oh,
no trash shall be left overnight.
What's overnight?
All right.
That's a great question.
Okay, from 6 p.m. to 11 a.m. Cannot be left on the side, right? No, because some of the
No.
trash man, okay.
So from 6
10
a.m.
to 6, how about 6 p.m. to 6 a.m.?
yeah, that's what I would do.
Yes,
6 to
that's
6.
Okay? 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., okay. B,
Okay, so 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. the following day.
Correct.
B, can to be secure from animal intrusion. And 112.4C,
Yep.
any refuse left on the roadside is the responsibility of the property owner.
Correct.
to pick it up.
That's
yeah.
great.
Or subject to littering as otherwise, I'll find out
Maybe
what that
D,
wording is.
any whatever deviation from these. I don't know how you can.
Will be a big fine.
Will result in a fine
Yeah, yeah.
and police interaction.
Yeah.
Well, I will work, I will work with the enforcement arm on what the end of
Yeah.
C reads to point to the appropriate section,
Yeah.
so that tickets can be issued.
Because you don't want the captain going through your trash in the morning when he's picking it up off the road.
Never can tell what he might find.
Okay?
I think, can we set a hearing based on those things?
Yes, and what I will do is I will get this written up, so by the time the notice makes it to the paper, the board will have seen and be able to review and comment on the proposed language before it's available to the public for comment.
That sounds like a good plan.
Yep.
And what time frame is that? And when will you get it to us by?
It will be ready between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. the following day.
So I can expect it tomorrow.
It will be early next week.
Will it be secure
Okay,
from animal
Monday.
intrusion?
I'm going to write Monday.
Yeah.
All right?
Yes,
Monday?
Jim, I will do this first thing tomorrow. Again.
Okay.
Hawkers and peddlers.
So we all set with that one?
Yep.
Did you
Next,
want to make a motion to set a public hearing?
Yeah, we can do that, right?
I'll make a motion that we set the public hearing for June 21st.
I don't know if you can notice it by then.
Okay, then the first week in July, first meeting in July.
Second.
So the question with that would be,
I'm not here, so.
That's
Well-
July 5th, yeah.
July 5th, so do we want to go with July 12th, or do we want to go back to June 28th? I think we can get the noticing for June 28th.
We can get a notice to the paper by Friday. It'll be in next Thursday, so June 28th will be fine.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to have a meeting on June 28th.
Yep.
Yeah, that'd probably be talked about tonight, so.
Okay, we're just getting to it earlier. All right, June 28th. All
Now the
right.
cat's out of the bag, but.
Yeah, now that one's out.
Okay, so we're all set on that. Next one, the schedule of public hearing update, for Chapter 73 Hawkers and Peddlers Ordinance.
So this is sort of a unique one that was thrown at me by Amy, dealing with vendors wanting to be at different places throughout town. When I looked at hawkers and peddlers, there's the various places that you're used to doing it. All I did in this is modify 73.4 to include, quote, as otherwise permitted by the Board of Selectmen through a special event permit. So basically, this authorizes a special event permit, just like you did tonight for several throughout. I then went into 73-7. The current ordinance jumps between the term push cart and cart. So I just kept that similar all the way through. And then because some of the requests that were coming into Amy dealt with vehicles, not carts or push carts, they dealt with roach coaches, for lack of a better phrase. Down at 73.7G and H, it was modified to say cart or vehicle, or carts and or vehicles. And then permitted areas down to 73.8, inclusion of 73.8E, other town properties authorized by the Board of Selectmen. I read that to say the selectmen don't have to say yes. If somebody comes in with a compelling argument, the selectmen may authorize it. It's not a definitive. Just because it's town property and E is written that way, that does not mean the selectmen have to authorize it, obviously. And then I clarified 73.9 to include an A to say all licenses expire upon the expiration of the special event permit or otherwise at the end of the calendar year.
Why not on that E on 73-8, other town property, the Board of Selectmen may issue a special event permit?
Other
'Cause
town
if you-
property as may be authorized?
It just, when you do may, it says, it makes it clear that we might or might not.
That's why I brought it up. Some people like
Yeah.
the may be, some people read it without.
As may be authorized.
Maybe with whatever, just as long as you get,
This can also
As long
go
as you
to
get
the
that same
28th.
intent in there again.
yeah, so it's clear. So
Yep.
you don't say, well,
If
what
that's
does it mean?
generally acceptable, I'd be looking for a similar motion, probably for the 28th.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay.
You gonna vote on it? Or you wanna, are you still looking at it?
I was looking at what we're gonna do with this. I didn't have anything that had to act on this.
Well, he said whether we want to set up a
The date for a
date
public
to
hearing.
public hearing. Because
Gotcha.
in order to do this,
Yep.
we have to set a,
Yep.
I think I got a date,
Okay, what's the date?
June 28th,
There you go.
right?
We have a motion and a second to set a date of June 28th for this. Any discussion? All those in favor? Say aye. Aye. There we
While
go.
we're here, what we don't have is any regulations for food trucks in the town? Food trucks.
There are no town regulations on
That's what
food
I'm
trucks,
saying.
no.
None of this applies to a food truck.
It could. If a food truck wanted to come in, I would suggest the selectmen be looking for state licensing for a food truck.
I mean,
But that doesn't have to be in this. I mean,
I-
hawkers and peddlers could be a lemonade stand, Boy Scouts selling water, 14 food trucks in the middle of Cape Park.
I just think we should have some kind of regulation and some process for food trucks.
That's, to me, that's what this is doing. If
Yeah.
you want to say what criteria they need to meet, that would be an application form or a policy and procedure on how to allow
There's
food
nowhere
trucks.
says food truck.
Yes,
It
he added
does. Push
vehicles.
carts or vehicles.
When he had and/or vehicles, 73.7 G and H.
I didn't-
And vehicle, I would put food trucks / vehicle.
Yeah, vehicle, I didn't mean somebody selling beef jerky out of their trunk.
Specifically mentioned
Yes,
in there.
because I think what we're having is, I think we want the word food truck. So you do no cart, food truck, or vehicle.
You want vehicle parentheses, including but not limited to food truck?
Mhm. I want the word food truck.
Maybe where it says and/or,
What if they use it?
That's where I was going, but they don't really play in that. Food trucks have to have certain inspections to be food trucks in New Hampshire.
Yeah, but this is talking about where they can go.
Right.
Correct.
That
Not
doesn't
what,
work-
not what they
not-
have to do to be a vehicle
Correct.
or,
We're
correct.
trying to find where they can go and where we will allow them in town, because we have nothing that says that. And if, where you have no cart, food truck, or vehicle, I would like the name food truck being there. I don't know where the rest of them are, but I
yeah,
just think.
I'm good with that, getting that added, get that word added in, food truck
So in
added in.
73.7 and H, swapping the word vehicle and vehicles with food truck?
And/or.
And/or.
Vehicles and/or,
Well, so no cart or vehicle and/or food truck.
No cart, food truck, or vehicle.
Okay.
All cars and/or
Do you
food
want
truck
to say
and
New
vehicle.
Hampshire approved food truck?
Sure,
I'm just,
sure.
What if they come from Maine?
they still have to get a license in New
State
Hampshire.
license for food.
So here's
That's an easy one.
Let's muddy the waters. What if it's a tow-behind trailer like the ones they use to make pizzas? Is that considered
Still a
a
food
push
truck.
cart or what is it considered?
I tried to make it simple and say vehicles, guys. We're
I know.
coming up with this as we fly, so.
Food- yeah,
That gets the same license as a food truck.
Okay, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Now I know.
That's why I was going down the,
Vehicle.
including but not limited to.
Vehicles.
But we have vehicles there. We have all carts, food trucks, or vehicles, so that should take care of it all.
should cover it, yep.
Yeah, for some reason, this gets into a push cart that exceeds 3 feet in width or 5 feet in length. I did add, if applicable, it may not be that size.
Right.
So I will make those additions, and I can still meet the deadline for June 28th with the motion.
Okay,
Okay.
all right. Building permit fees.
Last time I'm bringing it to you. This one is simply looking at raising the fees, but not all fees. This is just looking at bringing the plumbing, electrical, and gas permits in line. And adding the $30 administrative fee.
Right, well, there's more than, because I went back to our minutes, because all we had was this, and I went back and looked at the sheets.
Oh, there's
and-
multiple versions, yes.
Well, because that's what we make our decisions on. And one of the things that I saw on when I went back to the sheets, the only towns that have in this area administrative fees was Tuftonboro and New Durham.
Right.
Moultonboro, Ossipee, Wakefield, and Brookfield do not have administrative fees. I don't have any problem with the electric, plumbing, and gas. And in the minutes, it said that Chairman Senecal stated that he needed more information. He would like to see all fees outlined on a sheet of paper.
It's currently done, it's on the website, or I can give the board a copy. My suggestion at this point would be to recommend the motion at the bottom, striking number 1. So make a motion to set a public hearing for, pick a date, to hear the proposed amendment to building permit fees to amend electric, plumbing, and gas permit fee to $50. I don't want to, it's not worth the $30 to reinvent that again.
It just didn't, that's the information we had. And it looked from these minutes, everybody was okay with the $50 for the fees.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we'll just remove that first one. I'm
Yeah.
good with that.
And that can be done for June 28th if you want to make
Yeah.
that the date.
So we'll make a motion for a public hearing, 28th, to hear the proposed amendment to building permit fees.
Yep.
Amend electrical, plumbing, and gas fees to $50.
And then in that public hearing, you'll have one of the sheets that lays everything out with those amounts changed.
Yes.
Thank you.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Luke, seconded by Linda. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
There's actually a statute amended in this year's legislature that requires all towns to have all permit application fees posted. So there is actually 11 by 17 of all fees that's available online, and it should be in every town, and I'm slowly polling them quietly in my off time.
Okay.
Just to check consistency, because we make phone calls to get the information to try and make changes, and we get differing information depending on who calls or who you get when you call.
Yeah, well,
So-
what we want, when for that public hearing, is that we have a sheet with everything listed, these new ones on it.
Yep.
So
It's
anybody
going to be an
says any-
existing and a proposed.
Perfect, that's what we need, and that will take care of it.
Okay, next on the agenda is policy for consideration to accept a private road.
Okay, so after your input, I took the policy and made the adjustments in here, which are highlighted in red. So on page 1 of the policy, 1.2, it states expenses associated with the title search and notices shall be borne by the petitioner to be paid by the town, or paid to the town in cash or, and that was the item you wanted added.
Yep.
So that's included in here. You go to page 2, 2.511, Town of Wolfeboro shall ensure as-built plans completely comply with original subdivision plans. And 2.5.12, the Town of Wolfeboro must be able to secure clear deed to the roadway and appropriate easements. 2.6.4, copies of all stormwater management agreements. And then on page 3, 4.1.1, a quorum of the Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen must be present as recommended. 5 took out the closure motion, and and renamed that motion. 5.1 reads, a member of the Board of Selectmen should make a motion to accept the name of the roadway under consideration, subject to approval of a betterment assessment, and the board not receiving a counter petition to conditionally lay out said road. And that, I believe, is the input which I received from you at our, I think it was April 29th meeting. Those meeting minutes are attached, as is the previous policy dated April 12th. Is there any thing that I missed or anything that you would like to have stricken or added?
Just one thing I saw here, Jim, is very, very minor, is on page 4, item 6, conditional, in the bold there, conditional layout. I think you're meant to have a conditional layout for existing private rights, not exiting private rights, rights of way. Just need to add the S into the word there.
Yep. Okay.
That was one thing I saw. Everything else that I remembered from the minutes and looking through the minutes we had in there, we got in there, so. Anybody else have anything?
The only thing that I see is on, under petitioner's steps and 2.511, the town of Wolfeboro shall ensure as-built plans comply with the original subdivision plan. Most of the subdivision plans that were built in the 80s will not pass that litmus test. They won't. Most of them that were built in the 80s had deviations from the existing plans that were submitted to the town.
But we need to know that. That's what it is. So what we do with it is something different. But we need to know this is the as-built, and if the road was to be someplace else, there was one road that was so far off, we didn't take it. So we need to no, it wasn't his neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we're going to talk, we've got to get on the mic if we're going to speak here, so people can hear.
This wasn't, and we did not take it over because
Right.
of all the issues, because the road wasn't built where it was supposed to.
So would the term Town of Wolfeboro shall compare and contrast as-built plans to original subdivision plans?
Something to that effect, yeah, because, I mean, most of them back in the 80s weren't put where they were supposed to be put. The drainage wasn't put where it was supposed to be put. The electrical and the water lines are in different places. And so, I mean, if we want to not accept any roadways going forward ever, then that's a good statement. But if we want to work with communities that maybe have a chance, then maybe we should lighten it a little bit.
Maybe we should put it, like the town of Wolfeboro shall ensure as-built plans are provided to be able to compare with the original subdivision plan. Does that do it?
I think part of the purpose for that as-built is to determine what needs to be corrected to achieve the level the town is willing to accept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Brian's right, but it goes beyond where the road is.
Yeah.
There are probably septic tanks that are in right-of-ways, and the town doesn't want to be accepting a quarter or all of somebody's septic tank.
Right.
The last time I went through this, people said, we're tired of paying someone to plow the road, we want the town to take it over. Once they found out how much of their road was deficient and the cost of the as-built, they said, we'll just keep plowing, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this
So
was real.
The use of the as-built is not to say, oh, you put it in the wrong spot. No, it's not happening.
Yeah.
It's to help outline what has to be achieved or brought up to spec, for lack of a
And
better
if it's
phrase.
too far off from where it is, then we need to know that.
Yeah.
And that was one road, it was way off,
Yeah.
and that we just in no way could accept it in that manner.
Okay.
So Brad, you had as-built plans are provided, and then what was the remainder of your
So the
statement?
town shall ensure as-built plans are provided, how did I word that? To be able to compare.
For comparison?
For comparison to the original subdivision plans. That kind of does what Linda's talking about. It lets us see, okay, yeah, the roadway is supposed to be here, it was over here, the drainage, where it exits the property, it's supposed to be on a drainage easement, but it's not in the right place, it lets us know that,
So I can make that adjustment tomorrow, get it off to you guys electronically for independent review. Anything else?
That's beautiful.
I was good with everything else there.
I was fine with it.
Okay, so do we want to hold a public hearing on the 28th for input?
Why not? Let's load that night right
Why
up
not?
here.
10 days are going to be one public hearing after another. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. We may be done.
Okay. Capital Improvement Program Guidelines.
So this is the last thing I have for you. There are 12 this year. There were 11 last year. These are the same thing in the same order, with the exception of number 1. Jim and I spoke about this, and it was suggested that we put that recall CIP projects are those of at least $100,000 in cost. There are new department heads, there are people new to the capital improvement program process. Just start out, don't worry about this unless you're at 100,000 or more. And then the rest of them are literally the same as you recommended last year.
The one thing that I did notice this afternoon in reading through it, item 3,
Yeah, that was
following
mine.
the public safety building in 2023, I think we can just strike that and call
Yep.
it good.
Yep. And I didn't know on number 4, we talk about putting in phases, and as I recall, we got into an issue on the CIP. If it's a multi-year project and you do the engineering in year 1 and it's not 100,000,
It can still be in, because if the overall project is,
Okay, so
I mean, this was-
that clarity is going to go to the CIP committee itself?
Correct.
Okay, all right.
MED had one last year, it was actually 454,000, but 50,000 was coming out of the prior year, so.
And they were, yeah.
The goal is going to be to focus the committee and the department heads on what does the project cost? Don't worry about how to pay for it. I shouldn't say that because the public's going to hear that wrong. But if it's coming out of grants, or if it's coming out of, the electric fund, or if it's coming out of general, that all gets sorted out later. What does the project cost? Does that get placed on the program, et cetera?
Right, they were all worked up about the engineering coming in a prior year, not at the
Yes.
100,000, that was it.
And on the 28th, 2 pepperoni and 2 cheese pizzas.
Okay, how about on,
Oh, there's no hearing on this one.
on number 8, to focus buildings and repair on asset management plans where possible? I take that out. We don't have any asset management plan on any building. We don't have it. I would love us to have it, and I've tried to get it, but we don't have it on building facilities.
So remove 8?
I would.
I know that's only one of 4, but I'm just making a note.
That we were going to try. Why would we take it
And we talk about on 8 that that the buildings are comply. Don't we want any, well, I did this one, maybe a 13, to prioritize projects that address ADA compliance? Because we can have sidewalks, not buildings. And I think we had that in for a while, and last year I think it went out, but we really need to comply with ADA and everything.
So I'm hearing strike 8, add 13. I know the numbers will change, but add 13 to say prioritize projects promoting ADA compliance.
I was going to add a 13 to prioritize projects that
Well,
address
if 8's
ADA.
gone, then 9 becomes 8.
Well, let's just keep all the numbers that are currently here.
No, I'm not, what are we striking totally out?
I was deleting 8.
No, I said to focus on building maintenance and repairs to town facility while continuing to ensure
okay.
that they are ADA compliant. I just was taking out the fact
Based on asset management
because we
Asset
don't
management
have them.
plans, yeah.
That's all I was doing there. So base through to possible. And then I was going to add the 13 because we have sidewalks that need to be ADA compliant.
What does 13 say?
To prioritize projects that address ADA compliance.
Okay, so 8 becomes to focus on building maintenance and repairs of town facilities while continuing to ensure ADA compliance.
Mm-hmm.
And then 13 is projects prioritizing, okay.
Yep.
Anything else? Okay.
Motion to adopt as amended.
Second.
Motion made by Luke, seconded by Linda to adopt the CIP guidelines as amended. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Okay, so we're not doing the dockside capital reserve fund, so the next one, approval for the Wolfeboro Waters questions.
Yes, Wolfeboro Waters Committee talked about the need for the town staff to take a look at projects in terms of surface water and water quality. And we just came up with 10 questions which we would like to hand out to department heads to make them think about water quality while they were doing a project. And so we just wanted the board to approve us sending it out to staff, to the town manager, you know, just for things to look at when they do a project. All these things affect water quality.
So would it be looking to have this kind of become a document attached to, we'd look at like capital projects, you know, when we get those in our budget book, stuff like that, so that this would be attached to the forms that they fill out?
We could, I think they were just was going to hand it out to the staff, and then if Jim wants to include it in their submittals, that's fine. It's just, we would really like them to ask these questions as they go to design projects.
So
And
this would only go to the department heads?
only to the department heads who are the ones responsible for the projects. I mean, they can give it to their lower staff. If Jim wants it as part of the submittal for CIP or any capital projects, that's fine. But it was more of a process to have department heads think about water quality as they design projects than to be, oh, did you do this, did you do that? So if you're all right, we can send that, have Jim send it out to department heads.
Yeah, I don't see any problem with having this go out to department heads to look at and have it in the back of their minds when they're looking at projects here. Other board members, any questions, comments?
Okay, I will work with Jim to get it sent
Okay.
out.
Other business, do we have any other business? One thing I probably ought to hear would be to bring up, our next meeting date would be scheduled for July 5th, which would be in conflict if there's a rain date for the 4th of July for parade and fireworks. So we've kind of talked tonight. I think we're pretty much locked into June 28th now with the agenda that we've put together. So if that agreeable to everybody, we'll have a, I don't know, if just do it by consensus, you need a motion.
So we will have a meeting the 21st, and we'd like to hold that next one on the 28th, and if we could motion that, that would be great. And then we would have the next one on the 19th.
July 19th, right?
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Either way, we're going to have two that are going to be a week apart, so.
And then you're going to have 3 weeks off.
Yep.
Nice time to have 3 weeks off.
I agree.
Beginning of summer, why not?
Right, just, it's a time I have a lot of
Vacation.
company here, so that's just perfect.
Do you need that as a motion, Jim, or are we good with just?
If you could make a
Okay.
motion to go
I'll
that
make a
route.
motion, we have move our July 5th meeting to June 28th.
Second.
Motion has been made by myself and seconded by Brian. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Okay. Do we have any other business tonight? Go to committee reports. Brian, we'll start down there.
I had a police commission meeting, and it was nice because I got to meet Stu Chase, and for the first time, and it was nice to meet him, talk to him. I had 2 trail meetings, one with the single track, which was a 3.5-hour hike through all of Abenaki, through all the trails. And then we had the meeting about the reconstruction of the Stone Dust Trail going, it's almost there trail, going along the bottom of Twister, along with the implementation of new cross-country ski snowmaking equipment. I attended the Heritage Awards. I saw Linda there.
Yep.
And I thought that was a great night, a great event. And that's all I have.
Luke?
I had a chamber monthly meeting, and I also had last night, Monday night, we had a ZBA meeting that went pretty late into the evening. And we didn't even get through all of the cases, so we'll have another meeting 2 weeks from Monday, this past Monday, which will cover the Phase 3 of Harriman Hill.
Linda?
Yeah, I had a library trustees meeting, a Wolfeboro Waters meeting. We're working on our water testing for this summer. I went to the swearing-in of Chief Chase. I also joined Brian at the Heritage Commission Awards. I had a Friends of Pop Whalen meeting. You forgot this one. Brian and I toured possible solar sites with the Energy Committee, and that was very interesting. It was a good good time. I went to the chamber. I met with the cross-country skiing group about their snowmaking and looked at the other trails. And I went to the Memorial Day service, and I thought I saw you there, Luke. Luke was there. Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you. Yeah, we had a planning board meeting last night, which is another one of those late night ones. On the 31st, Wolfeboro Community TV hosted the Chamber Social up at their studio up there at the high school. Fairly well attended. It was interesting. The people up there got a tour of the facility, and it was very nice up there. And I'd forgotten I did attend my first Wolfeboro Waters meeting with you back then, 2 or 3 weeks ago now.
Yeah.
And that was it for me. Town manager's report.
Attended a lot of the similar meetings that you've already discussed. It's been a hectic couple of weeks, as you can tell by the size of our packet. A lot of materials are covered. We're going to be getting into CIP season, and right after that, or in about a month, you'll get a beginning budget guidelines. So the circle never ends. So short of that, I think I'll be seeing a lot of you in the next couple of weeks for meetings and public hearings.
Okay. Questions from the press? Do we have Alyssa with us still?
She does not appear to be on, Brad.
Okay. Public input. I would entertain a motion to go into non-public.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Thank you, everybody.